betrayed and thrown to the monsters. This kid's body literally turned to dust. All that was left was a single piece of bone, lost out in the wasteland. What the rest of the world didn't know is that this guy is straight up impossible to kill. Kidnapped as a little kid, he was turned into test subject No. 17. He went through 80 years of pure torture and messed up genetic experiments in the dark until they tossed him out like trash into a suicide mission gate, except instead of dying, he wiped the monsters straight off the map. His body adapted, he ended up awakening in op power. That's borderline ridiculous. Now he cancels out ultimate attacks with a simple finger flick. He crushes S-rank villains until they're literally the size of marbles, and he spams forbidden spells like it's child's play. The trash tire experiment got reborn, and now the whole world is gonna have to pay the price. Holding the line, the warriors push their limits, using everything they had in the fight. This bizarre portal brings pure chaos right to humanity's doorstep. Soon enough, people called it the Demon Realm, with terrifying beasts invading our world, turning everything into a feast, where regular folks became the main course. But in the middle of all that panic, a few chosen ones stepped up and became hunters, awakening mana and unique powers, giving the world some actual superheroes. Thanks to this crew, we could fight back and the brawl was officially on. Eventually the dust settled, and people started rebuilding and getting their lives back. Except that peace didn't last long, since beasts kept spawning endlessly from the gates. Holding the line, the warriors pushed their limits, using everything they had in the fight. Yet the math didn't always work out, and a lot of them met a tragic fate. The problem was pretty obvious. We lacked hunters, with way too many dropping in combat, losing badly in numbers. Society realized they needed a drastic way out. Then scientists decided to create artificial life and manufacture their own heroes. Enter the Chimera Hunters lab, grown beings with completely cracked power. Using a sketchy recipe that mixed prisoners with animal DNA, they added minerals from the gates to give this whole mass a massive power spike, finishing the combo with B cells, creating a highly dangerous genetic salad. Failures flooded the lab until finally, one experiment actually worked. Out of pure desperation, they mass-produced chimeras, monsters built to beat monsters, and the idea stuck, turning scientists and hunters into partners to prevent more losses, giving everyone some breathing room with this backup, so society could finally try to recover. Decades later, inside a hidden lab, a scientist complains about the latest test subject, approaches the containment area, shines a light in the cell, and notices number 17's bizarre arm. Shaking with fear, his buddy tells him to back off, but the guy thinks the beast is already fried. He points at the messed up arm, even wondering if that's just a side effect, poking fun at his coworker. He thinks the beast is blind, not knowing it sees everything. Shortly after, the scaredy cat suggests trashing the creature. His partner agrees and they move on. They sneak away quietly, leaving our boy completely dumped in the dark. Immediately they warn the director that No. 17 is a joke of a fighter, now explaining the state of his body. The boss only wants to know how much time he has left. The verdict is a month tops, with everybody nodding along to that sentence. And that's where it gets crazy. The director decides to throw the kid into a gate as a human shield, sending him on a mission with no return command. A strict one-way ticket in the blink of an eye. The kid drops right into the demon realm. Thrown to the wolves, the party starts off hot, with a creepy flying beast rushing in for the attack. He stands his ground though, flashing his claws and ready to return the favor, launching energy threads to tie the beast's mouth shut. Kicking off the freak show, the ground explodes, leaving him standing right in the middle of that dust tornado. Suddenly, a bizarre worm pops out of the dirt, proving it's gonna be a really long day. Digging his claws into the soil, taking a stance that makes it clear the talking is over, takes a light beam from the worm and flies back, leaving the beast pretty confused. Surrounded by heavy hits, the kid feels zero pain and completely ignores the beatdown. Meanwhile, a massive lizard gathers blue energy in its mouth, prepping the heavy artillery, firing a laser that swallows the kid instantly, looking like the end of a line. Nobody saw that coming, though the strike bounces right back, and the lizard itself gets clapped, screaming in agony while getting fried by its own move, paying a heavy price for slipping up. The hunter team watches from afar, genuinely stunned by the chimera's raw strength. Right then the blonde guy mentions, the gate hasn't closed in 3 days. Calming the squad down, they figured this up. Chimera could hold off the horde forever. Drawing his sword, one of them reminds the crew that their mission is super straightforward. All they gotta do is sweep up any beasts that slip past the kid's blockade. An easy gig. But the portal in the sky starts twisting and fading, signaling the party is over. With the portal vanishing, the leader gets the memo and decides it's time to bounce, ordering a fast retreat for the whole team so they don't waste another second. They rush to exit, and one of them smacks right into a cracking barrier. Time's up. Worried, the female hunter asks about the boy, but the boss tells them to leave him behind, justifying that the test subject already did its job, treating him like garbage. Her conscience feels heavy, but the boss tells her to chill, calling the kid a machine, claiming they just follow orders, while the kid's glare proves the tables are turning. Without a second thought, he grips the beast's paw hard, sending shock waves everywhere, following the basic logic of just eliminating targets, acting completely on autopilot. The alert to protect the squad flashes in his mind, that usual dangerous duty. Meanwhile, the monster smirks, thinking it's dinner time, not knowing who it's messing with, not intimidated at all. His eye glows blue as he preps a massive strike, firing a wave of power that wipes everything off the map, reducing even the ground to dust. He hears the scientist's voice, echoing in his glitched mind. Fully focused on the mission, his body starts breaking down. After securing the escape route, a silent sacrifice fading on the ground, he tries to trigger the return command as a final hope, but the system rejects the request on the spot, showing his fate was already sealed. Leaves behind a clean record of 0 casualties and over 1,000 wiped out monsters. Success at his last breath, and just like that everything changed. He was once human, taken at 9 years old, watching his past life flash like a movie in his mind. Remembering what got stolen from him, his brain is so scrambled that he doesn't even get the scenes, like it's a foreign language. He just watches it, all calmly facing that pretty confusing goodbye. Flashing back 79 years, a caretaker finds the kid's name super weird. Exactly 70 years ago, the boy takes no disrespect and throws rocks right back at the bullies. The orphanage owners lose their patience and slam the door right in his face. He's kicked out and dumped all alone, out in the freezing cold streets, unable to handle the chill. He ends up passing out and starting his worst nightmare. Two rich scumbags in a fancy car point with disgust and immediately ask for the boy's price. Cutting straight to the stretcher, a scientist pulls out a giant syringe for the test subject. The medical crew confirms the kid's registration as the new number 17. Next, they order the test recorded, injecting him with ranked S silkworm larva cells, carving the No. 17 into his arm, with the scientist monitoring any reaction. Since it works out, the kid gains powers and keeps his consciousness perfectly intact. Lucky that boss is sick though, ordering them to inject everything until his body warps, kicking off years of torture, stuffing the kid with every kind of genetic trash possible. Fast forward to 64 years ago. He wakes up from yet another awful test. He forces himself up, faces a yellow monster, and fires already running on autopilot, taking a hit from giant wasps right after. Not even fazed by the routine, this guy deletes the bugs with a single shot, proving he became a weapon of destruction, clearing the rubble and saving a mom and daughter, proving the hero still lived inside him. Woman gives him her thanks, and he just nods, saying it's all good. By the time we hit 59 years ago, the now adult guy looks pretty lost in the street, surrounded by tons of defeated beasts. His mind glitches out, unable to process a thing. Soon that scumbag scientist shows up, mocking him, asking if his memory was fading, celebrating that side effect hype, that his twisted plan was actually working. The timeline skips to 54 years ago, with the old man writing everything on a clipboard. After 15 years and 500 different tests, our boy finally breaks, bringing in a sliced-up monster. The scientists brag about number 17's success. Rewind 20 years. A hand feeds the MC some meat like he's a dog. A woman catches a massive scare from him, since his looks didn't help much, leaving everyone grossed out and terrified, with the dad even covering his kid's eyes right away. 3 days before fading out, he faced a heavy brawl, taking hits from all sides. Even all beat up, the only thing that mattered was getting every mission done. Flash to the present, the sun hits the canyon, and our boy's body turns to dust. But not everything is gone, leaving just a tiny piece of his spine lost in the sand. Shaking out of nowhere, the bone starts pulling matter to rebuild itself. That is, wild bright light glows inside it, making it clear the show was far from over. Remaking the entire spine, shining with the energy of 527 cells, brings the ribs along, showing that No. 17 skeleton was officially back. Super fast flesh and muscles wrap around the bones, looking like some bizarre spaghetti, capping off the region with a golden blast, bringing the MC back at full power. Right then, 2 feet touch the ground smoothly, leaving that freaky beast form in the past. Standing up with a fresh human face, he stares at his own hands. Super confused, he rises from the ashes alone in the desert, proving he refused to stay down. Fully gearless and confused, he even asks out loud if he's human again. Soon his arm shifts into a creepy claw, showing not everything was 100% human. Checking his wrist, the experiment tattoo was gone. He was a free man now, realizes right away. He only came back because of some immortal cell, pulling a whole phoenix move. It works just like a jellyfish, giving him the power to revive up to 3 times easy. Deep down he knows those cells shouldn't fuse like that. Yet his body feels at its peak, noticing that fading out cleared all the side effects, and left his mind entirely brand new. The big question remains, if he could finally live a regular life, as a normal human remembers the head scientist, suggesting he should start helping people with that guy pitching the name Sean Duwoon, meaning helping 1,000 people. Nice irony, he calls bluff on that nonsense, instantly thinking it's a joke for a tossed-out orphan to help anyone standing there thinking for a bit. The first idea that pops into his head is payback. The only problem is he needed a target, and he was completely lost right now. Since a lot of time has passed, that idea cooled off, especially being stuck in the demon realm. Decides that if he bumps into those guys someday, he'll settle the score, but leaves it alone for now, cracking a little smirk, happy to finally find a new direction under the sun. With his choice made, he's ready to kick off this new chapter of life. His main focus is super simple: just try to live peacefully like a normal human. Moving to step 1, grabbing clothes. Since he doesn't even remember the last time he wore anything, walks around with zero gear, purely focused on getting his humanity back. Step by step, reaching a river in search of a fresh fit, but having zero clue where to find fabric. Desperate for something tough, since living in that place was no walk in the park, he steps into the wild, with his chest out and nothing else, ready to explore the area. Out of nowhere comes a weird noise, so he stops and goes into full alert mode. Bumps right into a massive busted up griffin, looking like it just survived a gang fight. Scanning the beast and noticing no wounds, realizing it dropped from poison. What a jackpot, because he needed leather. And the beast dropped right from the sky, morphing his right arm into a blade, becoming a walking Swiss Army knife. He takes advantage of this wild convenience, right when he needed a knife the most. With his lab butcher classes in mind, he already starts planning the cuts, but touching the blade to it, his hand hurts and he figures this won't be so easy. He feels a freaky tingle with the beast's poison, trying to take him out too. A purple aura leaves the griffin and gets absorbed by the MC. What doesn't? And you levels you up. Still, he complains way too much about the poison stench, desperately needing a bath. Rips off the leather to whip up some clothes, leaving the rest of the carcass behind, tossing the skin in the water to soften it up, thinking it'd be a breeze. But nope, during the wringing process, the stuff turns into concrete, proving no water was gonna fix it. A light bulb goes off in his head, and he already has a genius idea to sort this out. Smashes the leather with pure punches. Because of technique fails, brute force is the way to go, treating the fabric with heavy hits, tearing off all the fur and fat. Just like that, successfully done. Our MC gets super hyped, with a nice and soft leather in his hands. He takes the measurements by eye, skipping the details so nobody gets shocked. And that's where it gets crazy. The griffin's head catches fire out of nowhere, looking like a pet shop phoenix. It's packed randomly and goes into shock. This plucked beast was still breathing. Getting back on track, he uses his own strength to rip the leather into the right shape. After putting the piece on and tying a makeshift belt, he checks it out and thinks it's not bad. Super proud of his Fred Flintstone style look, seeing it fit like a glove. He feels an itch while a purple aura leaks out, proving he didn't digest the poison. Ignores that entirely, seeing the griffin's head moving, stubborn like an overdue bill, watching the creature do a bizarre gag, looking like it wanted to say something. The realization hits him and pulls a smile. If the beast came back, it was amoral. Just like him, normally he'd have finished it off, but seeing the harmless critter, there's no point to it. Flashes a massive smile, telling it they both got lucky, and the plan now is to live, walking away peacefully, making it clear that if fate allows, they'll bump into each other again. He hikes a bit and reaches a dark cave, looking like a solid place to start this. No clothes on, he focuses on the next step, which is grabbing a spot to live. But before he can even think, the wall cracks, showing the house already had a tenant. A giant centipede busts out of nowhere, screaming loud. Talk about a noisy neighbor, hovering over him with bad intentions, making the MC look like a minifigure next to the bug. Doesn't even blink, just looks up and asks if that place was always so dark. He spots the bug trying to spit green slime, so he just raises his hand and blocks the attack. Flat out drops a rejected on it, kicking the resident out and taking over the whole cave. Continuing the hunt for the perfect real estate, stopping at a freezing mountain in awful cold, explores the scenery, probably trying to escape that natural AC. Some new neighbors show up, like these giant yetis that woke up on the wrong side of the bed. He shoves the big guys away, noticing food would be scarce there. Rejected, finding a mushroom forest next, but with a foul smell, earning another rejected. Inside a super drippy and damp cave, it gets crossed off the list right away. Arrives at a volcano with unbearable heat, gets rejected since the guy was super picky. He stops at a sunny cliff, spotting a place that didn't feel like an oven or a freezer, seeing a waterfall in a crystal clear lake, getting blown away by the beauty of the spot. Super hyped, he jumps off the cliff without thinking twice about the draw, runs along the edge of that lake, making it crystal clear. He was satisfied with the pick. The water looked so pure that you could even see a bunch of fish swimming peacefully. There were some freaky piranhas, but to him they'd serve perfectly as a grilled feast. Already dreaming of a cabin and fish in the backyard, deciding he was gonna build right there, with some little yellow flowers, giving that really cozy nature vibe all around. Fresh air and green trees everywhere, feeling like a 5-star resort, right in the middle of chaos. Takes a deep breath in that gorgeous forest, immediately giving it his seal of approval, locking in the choice successfully, with our boy's new home fully approved. Finally finding his corner of peace and shield vites, in the middle of all that apocalypse. But no one saw that coming. The sky suddenly throws a really tense, blue electric fit through that energy. A massive gate forms, and his piece is successfully cancelled on the spot. Spat out of the hole, something smashes into the ground. Looked like a package on express delivery. Right after, a busted robot stands up from the crater, looking like it was built with blender parts. Flashing its red eyes, the rust bucket scans the area, wondering where it ended up. Back to RMC, he picks a plot of land and decides to build his own place. Starting with the foundation, he reaches out and releases a pretty curious energy. Golden wave instantly sweeps through the forest. The kid became a reverse park ranger, unable to handle the impact. The massive trees snap and drop straight to the dirt. Checking out the cleared zone, he scopes things out and notices there's plenty of room for construction. He floats the logs, sorting out the best ones. It's practically a human crane in action, leaving the wood stacked. A protagonist realizes the ground is a bit uneven, so he hits it with a heavy stomp and levels the dirt by sheer force. What a ridiculous amount of power in a single step. Everything's ready under the nice sunshine, making the empty lot officially good to go. Clenching his fist, he enjoys moving exactly how he wants. It was pure freedom. Time to plant the pillars. Grabbing a giant log with just one hand, having fun with the moment, he soaks in the free will of building his very first home. He nails down the floorboards in the blink of an eye. Using super speed, the Flash would be crying out of jealousy. What happens when you run out of nails? The boy's creative fix is using monster slime. Smearing the green goo on the wood, that stuff would harden and become solid as a rock. For the final touch, he uses his powers to spread sweet, smelling plants all around, smiling at the result. The scent was meant to work as a natural repellent against threats. The wooden cabin is finally done, with slug glue and webs turning out pretty cozy. Actually scratching his head, he feels like something is missing. What did a normal human house look like again? Memories from the lab rush back, where the scientists used to show videos of houses. They featured families, a dog, and a garden, a regular life he never got to experience. Getting a cute little puppy out there would be impossible though. Pure cruelty to the pet. He even wanted to plant a garden, just didn't know what to grow in such cursed dirt. And that's where it gets crazy. A light bulb goes off in his head with a genius idea. Remembering the snowy mountain and the mandrakes, dinner was about to get a very exotic touch. Without a second thought, he heads back to the freezing cold and climbs the peak for the plant. Our MC triggers biologist mode, knowing they love ice and plenty of mana. Stepping through the heavy snow, the memory of the day he was kidnapped hits hard. It's kind of ironic because the chill was so bad that getting taken felt like relief. Being a chimera has its perks though. No more freezing or starving. Now the buzzard starts dying down, as he senses the mana getting closer and closer. Bingo, finding the little plants sprouting in the snow made the trip fully worth it. Mandrake eyes are super sensitive though. Any shift in weather and they fade away. Focusing on the youngest and most adaptable seedlings, he plans to take 3 roots home. He doesn't even cover his ears when pulling the first one, expecting that classic scream. But the plant just lets out a cute yawn, leaving the kid entirely confused. Grabbing another root, the exact same sleepy sound. Heavens, what a weird situation. Even the third one grumbles quietly. He definitely didn't expect mandrakes to be this polite. Putting them together, they mumble and rub against each other. Sleeping peacefully, the realization hits him quickly. The scream is just a defense mechanism against aggressive humans. They were chill because that spot was already their natural habitat. Thinking for a second, he wonders if they assume he was some kind of relative. He just shrugs it off and tucks the plants into his belt. Less stress to deal with leaving the area. He's already dreaming about some warm tea and a little fruit for dessert. Then he remembers that fruit picked by force turns into poison. He'd have to smooth talk them. His radar goes off right then. There were hunters nearby on that dangerous mountain. Cracking a little smile, he decides to go over and borrow some gate stones. Up ahead, a crew was in serious trouble. They got used as bait and left behind. The partner tells him to swallow his tears fast, because the monsters were coming back in full force. Surrounded by snow rabbits with razor-sharp teeth, things were about to get really ugly. And these beasts weren't playing around. One with a tentacle mouth was already drooling, trying to hold the horde back. One of them pops a barrier, but cracks are already showing. The hunter breaks a cold sweat, realizing that shield wasn't gonna last much longer, and it hits hard as the shield shatters. He deeply regretted taking this mission. Left with 0 defense, he screams for help, while watching the rabbits leap in for the attack. Out of nowhere, a blur crosses the air, and a massive explosion wipes the pack off the map. Opening his eyes slowly, the hunter sees the beast growling at something. Looking super confused, silhouette emerges from the smoke. The guy couldn't even tell if it was human. It was our MC, rocking that 0 chill face and ready to handle the problem. looking at the freaky creatures. He just wonders if that was actually a rabbit. Right in the middle of the chaos, a sinister being steps out of the shadows, dropping a reunion cliché. Ignoring the boss, the kid scares off the rabbits with a simple flick, making them all scatter. This leaves the guys completely speechless. A bizarre monster ran away, just from sensing his presence, almost crying tears of joy. One of them thanks him for not getting clapped, introducing himself as Kim. He immediately hears the MC reply with his name. Super calmly, the man finds that homeless looks super weird, assuming he's some kind of hermit hunter. His partner doesn't get what a rookie would be doing out there. Was it for the cash paying close attention? Our boy hears them talking about hunting down a chimera. They explain about a machine escaping, and the MC realizes instantly they weren't after him. Relieved, he asks for a gatestone, but the hunter says they have zero gear. Spilling the truth, the guy reveals the boss has bailed with everything. Pure betrayal, he curses while gripping his wounded arm, figuring out this was rigged from the start, bitterly regretting falling for the lies of a leader who only needed live bait. Putting the pieces together, Gwen realizes the stone is with the traitors. Time for a hunt. The guys panic when they see him turn his back. They were right at the limit of contamination. After all, staying there without purification meant game over. Only the MC could tank that environment. Crying over his pregnant wife, the guy begs for help while the MC tracks the runners. Do-one ignores the drama and jumps, cracking the ground. He had better things to do, leaving the dude screaming in pure despair, watching their only hope vanish into the sky. Meanwhile, that little robot from earlier was standing on the edge of a really sketchy cliff, and just like that the traitors bump into the robot, with the leader ordering everyone to attack. Detecting the threat instantly, the little machine pulls out tools that weren't friendly at all. With its red visor blinking, the system had only one command: wipe out all threats rushing forward. The squad jumps in with their weapons, ready to scrap the thing. A short while later, the MC arrives at the scene. Was it too late? Looking at the bloodstained snow and dropped backpacks, he noticed they bailed in a hurry. He checks the child and animal footprints, figuring out the creature fought by shape-shifting, understanding that the beast had super flexible DNA and could adapt really fast. By pairing that with the hunter story, all the pieces clicked together perfectly. It was liquid metal able to turn into a wolf, a snake, or a kid, making it extremely rare material. Chuckling a bit, he finds it hilarious that a tiny robot like that clowned 5 grown men back to the hunters. Kim was trying to revive his buddy, who was already fading fast, turning purple from the toxic energy. The guy remembers his kid is about to be born. He asks his partner to tell his wife he was sorry, in a truly heartbreaking scene, but no one saw that coming. Our protagonist, barefoot, steps onto that snow once again, turning his head in shock. The hunter feels hope coming right back to life. Shin Du-won was standing right there, holding every single backpack he managed to recover, bringing not just the backpacks, the absolute unit, even got new boots to avoid walking on the ice. The hunter sees the MC as an angel, begging on his knees to save his buddy, but the bored kid remembers the gate stone, and the hunter says he's got the fix, pulling to 10 million won checks from his pocket, which was their entire life savings. 20 million meant nothing out there, but it would fit like a glove in the human world. Right then he manifests a gate stone in his hand. The kid is practically a magician, opening the dimensional rift. The man gets emotional, swearing eternal gratitude, while his partner gets patched up. Our MC just stares at the massive payout he got. He asks for the original price, and the beat-up guy explains it goes for 1 million. Now with zero shame, he points out he got overpaid. Honest even during extortion, cracking a little smile. He lets them know that change wouldn't be cash, but pure power. Bumana wraps around both of them, making the guy freak out, thinking he was getting injected. Desperately he tries to stop it on the spot, knowing things were about to go south. Afro, pure energy is super dangerous, and could shatter their course forever. Except to his surprise, a warm feeling purifies all the toxic energy from his body. Once his body recovers right away, the two hug each other, crying tears of joy, thanking him again as they watch the kid leave. They just wonder who that guy really was. Once back at the base, he does a quick patrol to make sure no intruders slipped in. Seeing his little house untouched, he celebrates the extra cash from such a productive stroll, but checking out the mandrakes on his shoulder, he notices they wilted from the trip. Since the hardcore gardener never stops, he already starts prepping the soil for planting. The little plants just keep grumbling, looking pretty salty about their new home, wondering if they were mad or just hungry. A brilliant idea pops up right away. He offers a bit of his own mana, and the little critters love it, instantly getting hyped, hopping around with full bellies. The kid figures out they were native monsters too, shortly after his radar goes off. Sensing a weird presence getting closer, hidden in the bushes, the little robot watched everything quietly. It was the hunter's target. Our MC stashes the cash in the cabin, deciding to save it for a better moment. Time to sort out the mess. So he sits down and starts going through the stolen backpacks. Had a full kit with a portable stove, pans and even several brand new gate stones. Not to mention clean clothes, sleeping bags and a blanket. Pure adventure of comfort. Praising the guy's prep, he realizes he hit the jackpot on that rescue. Then he finds a pack of spicy ramen in the pile. And nostalgia hits him hard. With the stomach already growling, the kid gets super happy and decides to play head chef. Since the recipe called for 500 milliliters of water, he just eyeballed the whole thing. Letting the waterfall water boil, he quickly starts thinking about side dishes for the soup. Right then a piranha jumps out of the lake, almost volunteering to be the main course. Because people love upgrading their ramen, that fish seemed like a fantastic choice. Landing a clean strike, he knocks the beast out midair. His reflexes were definitely on point. Need eggs for the recipe. Some fish roe would do the job perfectly. And instead of green onions, he just went and grabbed some random tree leaves. All the ingredients are ready, so he heads back to his little makeshift kitchen. Dropping the pan on the wooden table, the dish was practically done. Still hiding in the bushes, the little robot watched that human cooking. With heavy curiosity, he likes the fire. And his only doubt as a chef is the right moment to drop the fish in. So he cooked it all together and threw the seasoning right on that makeshift log table. The mandrakes immediately pull a funeral face, sniffing and crying nonstop. Honestly, the smell of that stuff was so awful. They felt sick, almost throwing up, sending up a black stinky smoke. The recipe turned into a pure crime against the nose. Even with the machine smelling that funk, the Mochas ended up speaking way louder, coming up with a way to taste that steaming slop. The plan was set into motion. Since humans love dogs, the genius idea was to appeal directly to cuteness, morphing into a little limping poodle. The tactic was to use some good old emotional blackmail. Difun hears the puppy whine, and realizes right away it was the robot in disguise. Getting super suspicious, he just wonders if it was a trap to lower his guard. But seeing the critter wagging its tail, he notices it was just a completely innocent kid. With the ramen ready, he offers a little bit and the tiny dog barks, happily serving that slop. The critter actually drools, with its eyes sparkling from pure hunger. RMC stares at the purple leaf-filled soup, hesitating on whether that was actually edible, building up the courage to taste it. The little dog was already eating, straight from his plate. The dog swallows it all super fast, starting to whine, and looking entirely confused by the taste. Except that flavor brings back old memories of eating ramen with his buddies at the orphanage, delivering a really warm memory. In the middle of so much tragedy, the taste was actually great. Pure nostalgia hits him hard, since the flavor was exactly like when he was 7 years old, saying it was delicious. The little dog looks at him, without understanding a single thing. Thanks to the toxic smell lingering, the mandrakes can't handle it, and just throw up everything. Calling the feast over, he tells the dog to take a walk, so he could clean everything up. He watches the little dog trot away happily, keeping a highly suspicious eye on it, yelling from afar that the limping paw was the other one. The little machine freezes instantly. Super embarrassed, the critter goes back to limping and sneaks away. The MC cracked up, leaving the dishes washed. Now the kid was gonna play housewife. In the laundry room, he grumbles about wearing leather clothes, remembering his terrible experiences with pollen. Grabbing a stick to beat and clean the clothes, he tries to go really easy, but his brute strength cracks the entire floor, leaving him shocked at his own raw power. With the stick broken in the dirt, he realizes he was a threat to himself. He scowls and tries to calm down. At least he still had another club to use, throwing a fully determined look. Round 2 of laundry was starting soon. A little pebble with eyes pops up in the corner of the scene. It was the tiny robot again, keeping watch the whole time. It even disguised itself as a fin near the dishes. Even in the middle of the flowers, the robot was making an appearance, pretending to be a tree stump, but the disguise failed hard when a sassy little bee got way too close. Going into absolute panic, the tiny machine runs off screaming for help. It gets super triggered and leaks a red aura, fully proving its childish mentality. Right then the protagonist notices the creature's stiff and totally mechanical way of speaking, being a classic side effect of knowledge, force-fed into young Chimera's acting. Really shy, the robot hides in the flowers and drops compliments with that little GPS voice, holding his only intact shirt. Do-won admits that doing laundry was complicated. He stares at the piece that survived the wash, since everything else had turned to dust, hanging what was left on the clothesline. He decides to go check on his mandrakes, way in the back of the yard. The little rock robot watched everything, with its orange eyes, seeing the clothes swinging on the line. The rust bucket figures it could use that too. The machine sneakily snatches the shirt and puts it on, deciding the piece was its own now. Since the shirt was giant, it became a dress, leaving the robot super happy and amazed. Out of nowhere, the metal starts glowing, and pretty brown hair sprouts on top of its head. Clenching those robotic hands tightly, a completely new form was emerging, and just like that, everything changed. She morphs into a super cute little girl, telling herself she reached perfection. Arriving at the garden, the MC finds the wilted mandrakes, and doesn't get what happened. He finds it really weird. pulling one of the roots from the clean dirt, and getting thoroughly confused, yanking out a bunch of roots in desperation. He proved to be the worst plant dad in the world. Deeply regretting the damage, he decides to measure the space and make a real garden. Right in the middle of his plans, a tiny voice pops up. It's the little robot girl acting all shy and saying hi. Our MC takes a massive jump scare, thinks she's a real girl and replies super awkwardly. Pointing at the house, she asks if he lives there. The kid confirms with his chest puffed out. Curious, the girl wants to know if he's a local. Catching the perfect chance, our protagonist decides to troll her. He immediately asks what tribe she came from. The poor thing freezes on the spot, completely out of ideas of sheer panic. She points at nothing, so he throws her a bone, suggesting the coconut tribe. Grabbing onto that idea, she nervously confirms that's exactly where she came from. The MC holds back a laugh and points out their outfits are actually identical. Caught red-handed, the girl pulls the finder's keeper's card and sticks right to her story. He just laughs at the whole thing and agrees to it. The little girl lets out a tiny cheer of pure joy. Keeping the joke going, he asks what she wants. Feeling awkward, she mentions she has a request. Without missing a beat, she throws herself on the dirt and straight up begs to live with him. Wondering why, he hears that place has 0 bugs. That beat trauma hit her super hard. He squeezes her hands together and explains the area feels safe, and she just wants some peace. Cracking a little smirk, he figures the kid just needs a secure spot to rest her head. He agrees, but warns her she have to put in some work. Overjoyed, she accepts the challenge instantly. Mission 1: prepping the garden. After all, the mandrakes need a proper place to call home. Hyped up, she grabs a stick and takes on the job, bragging about her own raw strength. And she wasn't bluffing either, swinging that wood with truck-level power, sending dirt flying everywhere. Watching from afar, he thinks the girl is either super naive or just doesn't care about hiding. When asked for her name, the little one looks surprised, like she never even thought about it. Then she doesn't have one. She makes it up on the spot, remembering that pretty flower she saw earlier. Resting the club on her shoulder, she puffs out her chest and proudly declares herself Kimnari. The kid gets a bit confused and asks if that has anything to do with the yellow flower. Getting a little salty, she yells that she's Kimnari. And that's the end of the story. Thanks to her brute force, the garden is done in a flash, and the MC handles the fence. Seeing the mandrakes hopping happily in the dirt, he realizes he should have done this way earlier. But right during the party, Nari stops in complete silence, just watching the whole scene, finding that quietness weird. Our guy notices her expression shifted completely. Out of nowhere, she tears up randomly and mentions the plant's joy. Reminded her of her old friends. Of course, he finds that tale odd. Having buddies inside a lap was highly unlikely. That's when the memory hits hard. The girl's short circuits, reliving a really dark trauma. Screams echo and a bizarre energy takes over. The freak show just opened its doors, trying to calm her down. He hears she saw a cute little monster getting jumped. Far away, the MC focuses on the clash and confirms the little critter is taking a serious beak. Down in the woods, seeing her looking so sad, he tests the waters and asks if she wants to go save the animal. She completely glitches out, claiming she can't help monsters. He catches the brainwashing immediately. Calling the little one over for a peek, she goes into full-blown shock. She doesn't think twice though, yelling that she'd be right back. She takes off and leaves the kid in the dust. Arriving at the spot, the scene is tense. Several giant bugs are surrounding their prey. Dropped on the ground, the cute little monster is pretty much accepting its sad fate. However, Nari drops in with a flying kick, yelling stop already, materializing a metal blade, eyes full of tears. She's beyond determined to save the tiny creature. Back in the day, robot Nari aced every test, leaving the other subjects terrified, until a yellow critter showed up completely busted. History was repeating itself. Taking a beating from the scientists, she kept crying and repeating she was only following orders. This pure heartbreak catching hit after hit, she begged in tears for it to stop. Then the rage finally boils over. In the flashback, her hand crushed the floor with ridiculous power, snapping back to the present. And that's where it gets crazy. She explodes with power and charges the bugs. Fueled by pure hate, completely furious, she warns them that ganging up on someone won't fly. On her watch, she screams that bullying is wrong, sending all those beasts packing with a single strike. While the apocalypse goes down over there, the MC just chills, giving snacks to his plants, until Nari arrives in pure panic, yelling for the boss. He turns around and tells her to hurry up. Desperate with the critter in her arms, she cries, saying it won't wake up, completely limp with its little eyes spinning. The poor thing got successfully knocked out. Asking her to chill, the MC takes a look at the creature and realizes he's seen it before. With the girl bordering on a meltdown, he steps up and offers a hand to check the beast. Activating healer mode, he focuses a bit of mana right at his fingertips. Quick checkup finished, the kid calms her down, saying the pet is in zero danger. He explains that the little monster's energy carries pretty much his whole life story, And the realization hits instantly. Through the memory he sees that same giant snow wolf. Staring at the fluffy ball, everything makes perfect sense. It's the exact same beast, just in pocket size. This leaves our guy pretty weirded out by the whole thing, but Nari only cares if her little buddy will pull through. Giving it to her straight, he says the beast is just hungry. The girl looks entirely confused. He tells it to rest after the mana charge, but she won't take her eyes off it. That scene throws Nari straight to the past, remembering holding her friend back in the lab. A truly cruel memory with her friend already gone, where she couldn't do a thing in time. Squeezing the little fluff she knows, leaving it there, means that tragic history will repeat itself. On the verge of tears, she begs to adopt the tiny monster, promising to take care of it and feed it plenty. Laughing internally at the massive unit that beast turns into, he hears her swear she only give it a little kibble. Unable to resist, he ends up giving in. The girl flashes a giant smile, completely in disbelief looking at the practical side. The MC thinks the pocket beast could make a solid guard dog. Speak of the devil, the critter opens its eyes. Super groggy, having no clue where it ended up, it catches sight of the protagonist and instantly recognizes the scary dude who clapped it earlier, still in Nari's arms. It wakes up running on pure hate, growling and glaring at our boy. Jumping back in fear, the girl doesn't get why the cute pet just turned into a demon out of nowhere. She lifts the beast up super happy, thinking the growl is a pigeon noise, sending the monster into a panic. Hugging it tight, she celebrates while the creature thrashes around, trying to escape that chokehold. Right then the beast screams. And no one saw that coming. The MC actually understands every single word. Treatment finished, Neri puffs out her chest with pride, announcing she already picked a name. It's gonna be Goo because of the pigeon sound. The MC thinks it's fine, but the beast just wants out. Feeling disrespected, Goo tries to warn them nobody authorized this, and he already has a name. The little girl assumes the fuss is just thirst, and simply dumps a bucket of ice cold water on the poor guy. Completely soaked, the little monster taps out. Even the MC suggests putting a pause on the drowning. Then Nari bets its hunger, and sprints off like crazy to find him some snacks. Leaving the mess behind, the MC grabs his tools and decides to play carpenter. He sorts out some thick wooden logs, and starts planning a highly functional closet. But right when he's about to cut, he stops. Guy feels something is definitely off with the wood, wondering out loud what went wrong. He doesn't even notice Inspector Goo keeping an eye on the project. Soon enough, the beast mentions the lock's color is wrong, making it super soft and useless wood. Curious, the MC asks what the right color would be, and the pet drops a super obvious red. Suddenly the tiny monster freezes with wide eyes. The protagonist understood every bit of it. At that moment the MC repeats the word out loud, making little Goo almost lose his mind completely. Pretty suspicious of this weird chat, the kid decides to take a little peek into the pet's mind. Skipping the formalities, he turns on his telepathy to read the gossip, straight from the mental source. The MC is genuinely shocked when he finds a dark mind, fully loaded with red eyes. He tries to ask about another habitat. The beast gets pissed and throws up a mental wall. Completely terrified, Goo asks how the heck that freaky human can hear his thoughts. Super chill. The MC replies that the words just pop into his head, getting pretty intrigued, pinning the little critter to the wall. He wants to know how a monster speaks human. Goo freezes instantly, figuring out it's a highly intelligent monster, a real rarity. Without wasting time, he asks if they've met before. That little furball looks pretty familiar, and Goo confirms it, saying he really wanted to find him. Leaving the MC kinda confused, drops the truth, saying he just wants to return the favor from when he saved his immortal core. Since he's no fool, he cashes in that favor immediately, and asks for help catching the beast off guard. Closing his eyes for a second, the little monster thinks a bit and makes his choice. Fully determined, he takes off the bandages to become the official guide to the Red Forest. And that's where it gets crazy. A fireball hits Nari out of nowhere, sending the girl into full panic mode. With the flames spreading, she screams desperately, feeling that ridiculous heat, blown away by a heavy blast, ruining any peaceful vibe right there. Now on the ground and terrified, the little girl cries, thinking the lab crew came to get her. It wasn't just her imagination either. A mysterious guy shows up with a tracker scanning her, shape-shifting, stepping out of the flames. Looking dead serious, he blurts out that attacking kids isn't cool, but it's necessary. He glares at the girl, dropping that cliché villain speech, saying her life is on the line. Right after, he preps a massive fire attack with zero mercy. Seeing the worst coming, Nari shuts her eyes tight and screams, thinking this was game over. No one saw that coming. The MC steps in and blocks the strike, with just one hand pet on his shoulder. Goo warning dead serious that the wood waits for later, since the priority shifted, staying fully focused on saving the girl first. Showing some serious attitude, he looks down at the shaking kid, noticing her mental state is in a really bad spot. Rocking Goo on his shoulder, The boy glares at the villain, calling him out for targeting a kid. Confused by the setup, the long-haired guy tells him to bounce, saying the target is only the girl. But our guy gets pissed. The dude rolls up, setting the yard on fire and still wants to give orders, complaining they ruined his meal. The hero tells the intruder to get lost immediately. Full of attitude, the villain says he talks too much, and gathers fire to scorch everything. With no time for games, the hero points a glowing finger to show who's really in charge. A simple flick shoots a beam and cuts through the fire like butter. Ridiculous power, leaving the long-haired guy completely stunned. To see his attack get neutralized so easily, he takes the beam head-on, sending rocks flying. The poor guy didn't even have time to react. Walking over to Nari, he asks if she's okay, and the girl confirms, looking way calmer. Slowly wiping her tears, she quietly thanks him for putting out all that fire. He advises her to punch her own fear, quickly pointing to the punching bag dropped nearby, gripping the clown by his thick hair, kicking off some proper shock treatment. Continue the speech about wiping out fear. He serves a clean smack right across the intruder's face, only to end up with a massive chunk of hair in his hand. Was that hit way too heavy? With the villain laid out and completely bald, the hair disguise was finally exposed. He's fully in disbelief, seeing the guy was bald this whole time, even though he looked pretty young. And this is where it gets good. That smooth bald head was shining brighter than the sun. A seriously shocking reveal. This makes the little girl burst out laughing, instantly commenting on how bald people are super funny. Laughing non-stop, all her fear just vanished, thanks to getting over it through pure trolling. But Gu notices she didn't grasp how serious the situation was, and decides to step in, using his mental resonance to show some heavy memories, and make the kid understand. He explains that this skill is exactly for broadcasting memories straight into other minds, throwing up an image of a scientist, laughing like a psycho in a super dark and tense lab, with a creepy smile while staring at the metallic slime. That used to be Nari's original form, mocking her for trying to escape. The guy was clearly having a blast with all that suffering, his hand glowing with blue energy. He ordered her to step closer, with zero chance to say no, claiming it was just a test. But the freaky energy around him showed the exact opposite. The MC pats the kid's head, praising her while knowing a trauma like that doesn't just fade away easily. Thinking about what to do with the knocked out bald dude while Gu pokes the loser's belly. Struck by a genius idea, the girl gets all hyped up. Soon enough, we see a waterfall with a new plan already in motion. As a result, the bald old dude ends up tied under the falling water to cool his head, celebrating that water puts out fire, while the man cries on the inside. But our hero actually feels a bit bad, asking them not to clown the guy's look too much. Cooking peacefully, he notices the girl's excitement and sees she'd be okay soon. He heads down to the river to fill the pan, fully focused on getting lunch ready fast. Meanwhile, Go asks what's going on and finds out the menu is ramen. Hearing the magic word, the girl already hypes up the boss's fish dish. With a smile, the kid jokes around, asking if the coconut tribe eats that too. Panicking, she confirms everything, and he quickly jumps into the water for the side dish. Bald guy watches the whole scene, dad. Sure, this kid is at least a rank. While the MC dives, the man swears he's some reclusive, completely cracked expert, grabbing enough water for 3. Leaving the bald dude stunned by such coldness, she quickly pulls 2 giant piranhas out of the water, announcing she secured the protein. Getting the order to use just 1 fish, she tells the old man to let the rest go. Absolutely terrified, the bald guy freaks out, thinking the monster meat is gonna be inedible. With the fish in the pan, the grown man almost has a heart attack, seeing the wrong water ratio, yelling in disgust at this culinary crime, while the little girl jumps happily with Gu. Now, the trio stares at the pan with some dark anticipation, the munchies hitting hard. Out of options, the bald guy begs to be let loose, and promises to cook it the right way, stepping up under an imaginary spotlight, because ramen is very serious business, and with surgical precision, he tears open the seasoning packet, without this world respect, holding the noodles like they're a rare gem, since his life literally depends on it. Meanwhile, the MC and the girl watch everything with a dark aura of pure hunger. The bald guy gets all poetic, declaring the dish is pure, and focusing on the traditional method, using pure intuition to measure the water. Staring into his own soul in the pan's reflection, he tosses in the ingredients, clocking exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the timer, counting it all by his own heartbeats, hitting exactly 2 to 70, focused like a Buddhist monk, waiting for the magic to happen right around B20, lifting the noodles to catch some air, looking like a legit master chef. This special technique is used just to make the noodles way more bouncy and perfectly cooked. Even while mourning the lack of some good kimchi, he has to make do with what he's got, flashing a satisfied smile for delivering his best work, even while his life is on the line. Finally presenting his masterpiece, Chef Namji soaks pure ramen. The system immediately grades it a 90, approving the dish on the spot, offering it to both of them. with Nari getting suspicious. Since it looks nothing like the purple ramen, he grabs the chopsticks and takes the first bite, totally ready to drop the verdict. And the taste blows them away, so much that they devour the whole thing. Like there's no tomorrow. Right from the first bite, an explosion of flavors leaves everybody completely speechless, feeling like they ascended to heaven, with the true taste of purity. Nari asking if humans eat this all the time, while the MC approves the meal. Even Gu lets out a satisfied burp, showing the mission was a huge success. Seeing the squeaky clean pan, the bald guy proudly asks what they thought of a dish. Our boy places a hand on the bald dude's neck, telling him to spit out what he really wants, saying he feels bad eating for free. He gives him a pass to ask for whatever. The old dude gulps nervously and acts awkward, proving he already has a request in mind, smashing his forehead into the dirt right away, begging for training so he can level up. This leaves the MC entirely clueless, wanting to know where this training talk even came from. And the bald guy explains he's the most badass dude around, and that he plans on sticking around a while. Kicking off the interview right away, he hypes himself up and offers his famous fried chicken. He desperately wants to be the errand boy for supplies, swearing he'll pay whatever it takes for lessons. Dreams of hitting rank A. The kid cuts the chatter and asks about the attack on Nari, whispering that she's from the coconut tribe. He tells the guy to just play along and get into character, completely clueless. The man confirms it on the spot, officially making this legend a reality. Tears in his eyes, he claims the beef was personal, pulling off an Oscar-worthy performance. Even blows up saying he doesn't care about cash and just wants to pass the promotion exam, ordering the guy to get up quickly. Catches the crybaby completely off guard. To earn his meal, he wants a real rematch, leaving the big guy getting all emotional. But the little girl holding the empty pan also wants a piece of the action. Full of hype right then, the boss asks if she's really sure, warning her that things are about to heat up. Full of confidence and remembering the advice, she's ready to test her technique and put out that fire, laughing it off and acting like he's the boss, while the girl glares at him, ready to wipe the floor with him. Then the kid switches gears and challenges him to break a rock, right there kicking off the test. The bald dude turns pale instantly upon recognizing the stone, which is way harder than diamond. Throwing out that basic taunt, doubting his strength, successfully plants the bait. He nervously chuckles since it's a tough nut to crack, something needing at least a rank A. No one saw that coming before he can even finish. He takes a smack and goes flying, ending the excuse's face completely twisted and clueless about what just happened. He's totally lost from that random strike. Next up, Nari steps in, demanding the fight, handful of water and calling him out for a one-on-one, bringing up a bit of the bald guy's sad backstory. Since he used to be a massive rising star, as a huge prodigy who got powers at 8 years old, he was an absolute outlier, breezing through the ranked B test with ease. He watched his career take off immediately. With the stylish head of hair and fire in his hands, he fought looking majestic and showed off raw talent. Grinding non-stop, he hit rank B before turning 20, securing his success early. Fame kept growing, and he dreamed of being the very best, while having everything until one day in the shower, he notices something super weird, showing the nightmare had already begun. Staring at his hands in panic, seeing the loose hair, he discovers a fatal flaw. While everyone else gained power, he was only awakening baldness, falling deep into despair. Barely in his 20s with the top already fading, he reached 25 looking just like Vegeta, trying every kind of treatment possible, only to hear from the doctor that it would all fall out. Eventually ended up crying in a corner, officially losing the battle against the baldness. Despite having insane talent, genetics showed no mercy, as he walked out of the clinic with his head down, losing all his shine right along with his hair, throwing his confidence straight down the drain. His career stalled out, and he got clowned during the rank test, ending up disqualified. Left with his entire life in ruins, he ended up tossed aside in a corner like garbage. Then late at night on TV, he sees some doctor talking about a really bizarre research project, explaining how he dropped rare metal on his head and accidentally created a fully mechanical beast. The real miracle gets shown off, with the old guy flaunting a massive mane at 90 years old, leaving our bald buddy in complete shock, recovering his hope of finally finding the cure. He heard on the screen that the realm was packed with opportunities, making his eyes sparkle, but rage hits quickly over the scientist building a robot instead of selling the cure. Punching the screen, he screams that hair is humanity's true, absolute necessity and drops the bombshell that the creature escaped to the other realm, changing the game entirely. A switch flips in his head, instantly realizing there are no laws out there, and finders or keepers, flashing a manic smile over the genius plan of slapping that pure metal straight onto his scalp, back to the present where he's in the mud, watching his plan go straight down the drain. He stares at the girl, completely shocked by her raw power, while she happily celebrates her win, being shooed out by the kid for not landing a single Clean head, pure humiliation. Through the window, the MC gives it to him straight, that if he keeps this up there's no training. This makes the guy beg for a chance, swearing to improve just to get the master's approval. Super proud, the cage shows off his brand new closet, thanking the Wolf for the tip in the process. From afar, the big guy watches, admitting the girl is built different, and earning way more respect for her, letting out a long sigh, after catching a beatdown all day, and having his body completely wrecked. Yet surprisingly, he ends up feeling great and refreshed, with his soul feeling even lighter. Figuring it's just the effect of going wigless, he lets out a shout calling for round 2. The Wolf mentions his fire is actually decent, but the kid reminds him she's on another level. Full of confidence, the bald guy announces he's gonna win now, but the MC just tells him to bring it on. Charging forward fully covered in flames, he's ready to drop his massive final attack. He clashes head-on with Nari's water, creating a huge steam explosion across the area. And that's where it gets crazy. He realizes the water is turning into liquid metal, a totally bizarre power taking full advantage. She lands a movie-level spinning kick, absolutely botting the poor guy, follows it up with a combo of punches that shatters even the rock, packing some ridiculous force. Beyond thrilled, she celebrates, losing her fear of fire and even thanks the big guy. Completely wrecked, he accepts his defeat right at his own rank B limit, but the kid orders him to get up, reminding him he's the only one there, getting a second chance. Standing up one more time with a smile on his face, he already asks for another clash. That and his nose starts bleeding, proving that pushing this hard doesn't come cheap. Asked how long he's been there, he wipes the blood and says it's his 9th day fighting. He gets warned to bounce fast, before the Monica corruption straight up kills. Such a low rank, except the kid praises his potential to hit Ranka, leaving the big guy in absolute shock. Venting about his 6 back-to-back failures, he admits he was pretty much ready to give up. However, the MC explains the guy's core hasn't fully matured yet, telling him to stay strong. Feeling deeply emotional, he thanks him with massive respect, having his hope completely renewed. He even gets some homework on how to purify his mana properly. Once he heads back, promising to grind hard, so the kid will actually help him level up to Ranka. Since the food stash ran dry, the old dude instantly offers to go fetch more. They say their goodbye peacefully, but the guy doesn't forget to ask about his wig, playing dumb with zero shame. The kid acts like he has no clue where it ended up. Poor guy is left searching, while the little Wolf judges everything, with the wig on its head. Right then a blue energy takes over the area, making the crew's vibe super chill. Acting kind of suspicious, the mascot asks if everything is cool, but the boy just ignores him. He explains the risk of catching a knife in the back, with Nori wanting to understand better. But the beast confirms the guy's will is honest, and his desperation to get strong is real, pulling a smile from the boss, who values honesty and supports training the big guy. Then, the girl asks if he understands what the mascot says, which he smoothly confirms, taking the chance to show off the finished closet. She praises it but points out it's too dark. His fix is to just bust open a window right away, because the grind never stops. Using his own blade like a drill, he handles it with the easiest practicality ever. This leaves the shorty enchanted by the view, filling the boss with pride over his work. Also remembering he'll need light at night, the little girl gets pretty curious about it, so he pitches the idea to grab a glowing magic stone and hang it right from the ceiling, making the beast question if he actually knows where to find that. Always staying one step ahead, the answer is the volcano region, locking it in as the Cruxberry next destination. But the little critter starts shaking in its boots, warning that's one of the absolute worst spots around. Sweating cold as he admits it's his homeland, while Nari doesn't get the panic at all. She pinches the beast's cheeks to figure out why he's acting so uncomfortable. Noticing the shift in his voice, makes the MC praise the shorty's sharp instincts. He breaks down the mascot's fear and plans to go solo, leaving those to behind. Putting her foot down though, she claims she's going to, with zero fear of fire catching the kid off guard. Crossing his arms, Gu decides to tag along to sort out a few things. The MC agrees and tells everyone to gear up, prepping a fit for the heat. Over in the garden, the mandrakes party it up, jumping around on a weird shadow on the ground. The volcano erupting in lava everywhere. Things literally heat up. Giant eyes soon appear in the smoke, proving there's a massive beast lurking. Crying out of nowhere, the creature of lava and darkness sheds mysterious tears, hitting the volcanic region. The squad steps into one of the 3 worst spots around. Breathing there is basically asking to not come back alive thanks to the toxic air and sharp ash. Stressed out, Gu grumbles that the place is so secret, barely anyone knows how dangerous it is. But Nari cheerfully plays with the lava, leaving the little beast totally in shock, explaining she's mechanical. The MC calms Gu down and mentions he hunts chimeras, since Gu finds his human form weird. The kid explains his ridiculous region powers, asking if the mascot is cool with that. While Nari almost melts in the heat, smiling Gu says it's great having some company, letting our boy breathe easy. Right then the gear on the girl's feet starts melting, from the temperature running over. All hyped up, she asks if they need any help with the mission, yelling that the boss is a local just like her, making you think he was the only one, pointing at glowing stones near the lava. The MC announces they made it to the crater. Looking up at the top of the mountain, the little girl's jaw drops, celebrating reaching the peak, while the MC stays locked in on the real goal, spotting the glowing stone, but noticing a giant fire toad guarding the peak. Catching a pretty bizarre detail, the massive monster is crying nonstop. Then Nari points to another giant toad drop nearby. Scanning the scene, the boy figures out it's the female, who couldn't handle carrying the eggs, who quickly explains they carry the eggs on their backs during mating season, and since she's gone, the eggs won't survive the heat, making the male cry his eyes out, feeling bad for the toad's family, while the kid calculates his next moves, telling them to wait. He plants his foot on the hot rock and prepares to strike, dashing straight at the beast, making Nari scream in pure panic at the crazy move, getting right in the fire monster's face, showing some out-of-this-world courage. He yells for him to come back, but the toad gets pissed and preps a heavy attack, warning them not to get close, because the beast is sensitive, already having a plan in mind. But the monster totally ignores him, and charges a giant fireball in its mouth, lasting a flame that torches everything, making Nari think the boss is done for. Except the kid puts his hand up and tanks the blaze, with absolute chill closing in. He gives the big toad a light tap on the forehead, completely confusing it, telling it to stay quiet. And in that exact second the massive monster drops, knocked out, chewing off the snake poison on his hands, mentioning it's just temporary paralysis. Mary asks if he's okay, and the MC smiles back, saying he's perfectly fine, explaining he has fire toad cells, but there was nothing he could do for the female, promising to save the living ones, while the tiny eggs start glowing gold. Waking up, the toad's eyes go wide, getting totally shocked once it understands what went down. Turns out the MC used his energy to stick the eggs onto the dad's back, turning his back with that slightly crooked, angelic little smirk on his face. Then the big toad rests its head on its fallen partner for a sad final goodbye. After that, the beast turns around and bows its head to the boy, showing pure gratitude, taking a leap so ridiculous it leaves little Nari speechless, landing far away with the force of a meteor, making the entire ground shake. Looking back with a tear on its face, genuinely super grateful for everything, moved by the scene. Nari totally gets how the widow toad is feeling. With one last jump, the big dad takes off with the clutch, while Nari watches him vanish. All hyped up, she mentions the toad's look was a really sincere thank you, agreeing. The MC figures the beast probably remembered his late partner. When looking at Nari, quickly shifting focus, he warns it's time to grab the stone and bounce. Getting into the mining grind, the protagonist pulls the glowing crystal from the rock. Nara uses her super strength to rip out a giant rock, flashing a beautiful smile, amazed by the orc's beauty, while the MC warns her not to drop it on her foot. With the backpack full, the boy already feels the weight of this mission is gonna be rough. Exhausted, Gu complains he used to play with that stuff, but being shrunk down was a struggle. Poking fun at the little beast, the MC asks if he wants help bringing gifts to his friends. Turning bright red, Gu yells that monsters don't have friends, and he was gonna leave the junk there, summing up the whole situation with a smile. Noticing the beast is just plain shy, asking if he misses the flock, Gu admits he only wanted to say goodbye, questioning if he ditched the crew, making the mascot look away awkwardly, triggering a flashback of Gu as a phoenix, looking super confused in that completely red world, explaining his intelligence was actually a problem, since he couldn't talk to the others, feeling totally out of place. Living among clueless animals was super lonely, so unable to fit in no matter what, he dicked to live on his own, grumbling that the flock didn't even notice he was gone, flying around annoyed while Neri minds. And the little beast stops midair out of nowhere, warning he heard a very sketchy noise, dropping what she was doing. Nari confirms she also heard something weird around there. Running over, she finds a buried monster egg, and quickly gets the boss's attention, spotting a crack in the shell. The MC jokes that Gu probably dropped a rock on it, explaining the baby needs to break the shell by itself, making Nari worried, deciding to take the egg with them, which makes Gu freak out, saying it was a terrible idea. With that look of someone about to cause trouble, the kid says he's got the perfect nest at home, determined to adopt the creature, leaving Duke pissed because he didn't want to carry that bomb, blaming the mascot who tries to defend himself, claiming it's for Nari's safety. But the protagonist flashes a confident smile, guaranteeing he'll handle it all himself. Seeing all that confidence in his eyes, Gu finally gives in and says he trusts the plan. Drama resolved, the kid orders everyone back to mining the rest of the crystals, leaving Nori super high to dig everything up fast, so they can head home. Cutting the scene back to the cabin, the sweet home of our beloved crazy tribe, rolling into the yard with full energy, while Nari carries the giant egg like a treasure. The bald guy shows up asking where they went, commenting on how fast they all were, trying to grab the luggage to help, but the MC stops and stares at him, noticing something off, warning that the backpacks were heavy, but the old dude laughs it off, swearing he can handle it, except when he lifts the weight he almost collapses, asking what was even inside, but the MC ignores him, and stares at the completely bruised up old guy, asking who ran him over. Turns out, Gu's big gift was just a pack of ramen, left at the volcano, and the Phlox Phoenixes stared at that red packet, having absolutely no clue what it was. So they tore the plastic open, and ate the noodles completely raw, having an absolute blast. Back on track, the kid asks if his apprentice picked a fight to get that wrecked. Feeling super awkward, the bald guy confesses he took a beating in Nari's training. Looking super proud to dodge the subject though, he changes his mind and runs off to serve dinner for everyone. Later on, the kid is chilling, carving the glowing stone with his knife. Walking up, Nari asks what it is, and he explains it's gonna be a ceiling lamp, saying he wants to make their house look nicer, which leaves the little girl impressed, praising his insane smarts and how easily he manages to explain things, mentioning he seems really kind-hearted, with the image of the saved toad glowing in the background. And that's where it gets crazy near. He blurts out that he feels like a dad, catching our MC completely off guard. Changing the subject, he asks about her dad and the tribe, and the little one stutters, turning bright red. Meanwhile, the orange sunset leaves the beach, super warm and peaceful around there, but Gu is already complaining. He's turning into a puddle, struggling big time with the temperature, melting into the ground like Play-Doh, since the heat totally wiped out the poor guy. Soon enough, a bizarre shadow with red eyes pops up near the egg, looking like a totem, revealing its several mandrakes, stacked into a creepy tower. This is serious. They launch a combo attack against a critter that was just trying to take a nap, screaming triple mandrake fusion rolling splash. A completely cheesy anime name. Landing a clean hit on a white beast, looking like a giant matcha, who doesn't even get the beat down, who glares at the troublemaker, super annoyed, while the matcha just stays there frozen. Stepping in to restore order, Nari immediately wants to know what the whole mess is about, so our hero explains. The little plants are mad about their territory getting invaded. Soon the bald guy arrives bringing dinner, a sweet and sour dish, perfectly made to get the kids hooked, looking like straight up fancy restaurant food. Everything nicely plated and put together. The system instantly rates it an 80. The old man absolutely cooked in the kitchen, bragging all over the place. He says it was a breeze to make, and already feels like a legit chef. Getting showered in compliments, he opens his arms, super happy, and tells the crew to dig in. But the MC ruins the mood, telling him to explain that totally busted a face. Sweating cold, the bald guy stammers a ton, completely caught off guard by the question. He explains he swung by the association and ended up bumping into some ranka guys. Long story short, they clowned his 7th attempt. A fight broke out and they told him to get lost, getting non-stop provoked with jokes, saying his pride fell out right along with his hair. Getting confused, the protagonist asks if he isn't just buzzed, but actually bald for real, launching into a whole lecture about baldness, leaving the master totally lost and pretty grumpy, reminding him that the bald guy's big promotion is next month, exactly 60 days away, announcing a special training camp, getting the old guy hyped to give it his absolute best. However, task 1 is literally just washing the dishes, which leaves him in total shock, asking if he really needs to scrub. Even the glowing stones completely unable to believe it, dropping the truth right then and there. He either washes it all or he rots in rank B forever. Right after, the MC heads out to fish with Nari, leaving our cook completely alone over there, stares down that mountain of dishes feeling defeated, but gets ready for the grind, thinking to himself that the boss definitely must have some crazy master plan, letting out a grunt of effort, remembering everyone assumes he was just born ready, guaranteeing he reached rank B through pure sweat. Super proud of his own hustle, stating he's nothing without hard work, and always trusts people until the very end, promising to try again, and running around with the basins, while screaming for his master. Cutting over to the riverbank, where the fishing bobber finally starts going down, fishing totally relaxed, with Nari sleeping, and complaining she can't catch a thing, even in her dreams. And on the other side of the bank, the bald dude is getting jumped by some demon piranhas, watching it all with a weed in his mouth, thinking the new employee is way too much work, questioning why he doesn't just pop a mana shield. The bald guy admits he's practicing, deciding to lend a hand. The kid grabs a glowing stone and wraps it in energy, handing the rock over to the apprentice, who is left entirely clueless. But the moment he touches it, blue energy shoots up his arm, leaving the guy completely shocked, screaming that it's pure magic. The MC explains that some stones are just built like that, warning him that magic in this world is super raw and requires refined mana to control. Touching the old guy's chest, he notices he has plenty of mana. He's just a bit clumsy with it, activating his skill, making the apprentice's body glow with pure energy, flowing through hands glowing, He says he opened up an energy path, a totally next level lesson, telling him to follow that flow. Then the old guy locks in completely, with illuminated hands, asking him to try lifting that giant rock one more time, testing his control, focusing with everything he has, feeling like the energy is about to fry his brain, letting out a scream that would wake the dead, and lifting the rock. I can barely believe it, realizing the dishes were actually Mona training. The MC smiles, heaping the chore on him. With that, the bald guy becomes the king of the house, fully focused and swearing to clean anything later on. Night falls and the cabin is lit up by the stones, looking like a fancy resort, using carved stones to shine just like lamps. Our boy is a creative genius. Soon the crew crashed in bed, falling into a deep sleep after a really exhausting day, with the old guy mumbling about Ranka, even while asleep, drooling for that promotion, while the MC finally gets a good night's rest, soaking in that wonderful peace. Meanwhile, the matcha beast wakes up in the middle of the night and stares at that mysterious egg, eyes wide open, realizing the little creature is just about ready to hatch. Except Mary sneaks out of bed, leaving the beast pretty curious about the movement, getting out alone into the dark, and the MC already opens an eye, wondering where the girl is going. The full moon up above sets a perfect, totally chill scene for a late night stroll, showing the little girl by the river, feet in the water and looking really sad, staring at her own dirty clothes, bummed about ruining the gift the boss gave her. But the sadness fades fast, and she starts scrubbing the fabric, with ridiculous effort, being watched by the MC and Goo. They figure she washes at night, because it's her only outfit, letting out a tiny victory cheer when the stain comes out, super happy to have it all clean. And our boy realizes his own slip-up, remembering that at the end of the day, she's just a kid stretching out, completely proud of a job well done, doing laundry in the middle of the night, taking a massive jump scare, when the master literally spawns right behind her, out of nowhere, playing it cool. He says he was just taking a walk, and the little girl stutters awkwardly. Getting serious, he asks her not to move for a second, and she instantly obeys, grabbing a piece of grass to make a charming little belt with the flower-born stylist, asking if it looks cute, and the girl replies bright red, that she thinks it's really pretty, quickly noticing the little plant looks exactly like the one the MC always wears. Explained full of pride that it's a forsythia, our hero's absolute favorite flower. But a loud noise in the bushes cuts the silence. The piece of this stroll is officially over, making Nori grab onto him, shaking with fear, while the kid keeps up his tough guy act, flashing that confident little smirk to try and calm the little girl's nerves, telling her it was just a bug, while a giant steel grasshopper passes by in the background, walking back holding hands. He asks if she wants new clothes, but the shorty refuses, saying she loves the one she's wearing, and our hero feels totally awkward at the answer. Cutting back to the slums in District 13, where things don't look good at all, remembering his own rough times, feeling it's messed up to leave the girl with only one outfit, thinking that taking her to the shop would be great, but past trauma makes it way too risky. Walking to the alleys, trying to remember a clothing store that used to be around there, pulling a random stranger's sleeve to ask where he can find stuff to buy soon. A raggedy kid charges 10 grand to be his local guide around the area, guaranteeing he knows the best spot and super cheap. This kid has level 1000 marketing, but our client warns him he'll only pay afterward, since he's completely out of change. Kid scans him up and down already, assuming he's just a broke rookie, sighing deeply, and asking if he at least has cash for the clothes, telling him to follow along, introducing himself as Bongs, while our hunter smoothly hands over his name, calling the MC Big Bro right off the bat, while a cop car rolls by showing how the area changed. Kid asks if he awakened recently, and the hero just casually says yes. Right then, the guy jumps to the conclusion that some punk stole his gear, inside the gate, laughing at the kid's smooth talk, asking him not to feel down, since things will get better. But the guy flips out when called a child, swearing he's already 17 years old, also warning him to stay far away from District 13, which is way worse right now, all because a gang took over the area, and even the cops washed their hands of the place. The MC quickly asks if the old orphanage in that zone is still around. Then we see a shop sign packed with sales, showing the crisis hit everyone hard, and the owner, this stylish blonde, deeply regrets ever opening her business there, due to folks having zero cash. Her stock of kids' clothes is completely stranded. Suddenly the doorbell rings, announcing the arrival of a savior customer. Walking in hype, the guide calls her ma'am, making the blonde furious instantly. He introduces the client as a hunter, who mentions it's his very first time in the shop, pulling the boy to the corner. She immediately starts chewing him out hard. Frustrated, she complains he only brings broke people, and her list of deadbeats is huge. Trying to defend himself, the kid argues that at least the guy is super handsome. To shift the blame, he brings up her request for hunters, just like her late brother. Cutting off the beef, the MC tells the boy to go take a bath on his dime. He then pulls out a massive check, asking what he can buy with all that paper, leaving them both speechless, with the clerk sweating bullets, unable to believe the amount. After all, it's 10 million on the paper, which was pretty much all of our boys' funds. Clasping her hands to the sky, she sees the golden ticket to save her whole business. Her attitude shifts right away, flashing a massive smile, and treating the customer like a king. Next he asks for outfits for a little girl, plus some shoes and a few pieces for himself. Overjoyed she hits the roof, since kids' fashion is exactly her greatest specialty, showing off a frilly blouse. Claiming that lace is an essential luxury, she quickly tosses in another breezy outfit, so the children can play around freely, desperate to empty her stock no matter what, shoving every single pink item his way, making the cash register beep nonstop, turning the woman filthy rich in an instant. With the shop now nearly empty, the blonde drops exhausted but feeling like a winner. Having bought 100 pieces, he skips delivery and decides to carry it all himself. He hands a bag and some change to the guide, warning him there's one more little favor, rocking the fresh stylish clothes. Now the MC is feeling like a genuine fashion model, soon guided to a very clean, safe boarding house right next to the police station. But while the MC goes inside, the kid stays planted outside looking super suspicious, thinking all this kindness is way too shady and bizarre for that city's standards, even considering running away, scared it might be some weird setup by local fogs. However, recalling the blonde's genuine smile, he decides to give him the benefit of the doubt. Walking out of the building, the MC praises the spot, confirming the guide nailed it. To get the boy off those streets, he drops a bunch of keys right into his hands, revealing he paid for a full year of rent and food, so he can live with dignity. And that's where it gets crazy. The kid is left in shock, wondering if it's a scam. Opening a gate and laughing, the hunter warns him there's no trick to this at all. Barely holding back tears, the boy just doesn't get why a stranger would help him so much. In a calm tone, the MC says the kid simply reminded him of his own past. Back at the cabin, Nari and the bald guy immediately grill him about taking so long. Yet the girl flips out with joy over the gifts, while the pet watches in shock. Seeing the party, the bald guy asks if he got anything too, but gets a massive no like a true dad. He tells the girl to try on the clothes, while the egg just sits there. Right at that moment the shell shakes and cracks, dropping a sinister glow in the room. Folding the rest of the pieces with pure care, finding that chore is super relaxing, until Nari comes running back all hyped, grabbing both of their attention, instantly popping up in a yellow dress and a cute hat. She shows off how adorable she looks. The MC agrees right away, smiling as the girl thinks about trying on other fits, struggling hard to put on some jeans. She looks super clumsy, clueless on how to wear them. Later she shows up in a shirt looking like a ghost, leaving our hero pretty confused. Watching with a huge grin, he finds the whole scene extremely cute and lively. Eventually, she stomps hard on the ground with her new shoes, announcing her final choice, rocking a white hoodie with a little chick on it. She loves it and melts the boss's heart. Kinda awkward about the print, the little Volf thinks the drawing looks just like him. Praising the look, the MC asks if she can put the rest away all by herself. Thrilled with the chore, the little girl takes on the mission, feeling like the lady of the house. Meanwhile, the pup questions where they'll store all that, but the MC already has a plan, announcing a massive cabin renovation, and showing the blueprint for a giant closet. Laid back, he mentions he already has the perfect helper to chop the wood. Then a huge burst of energy hits, and we see the bald guy already out there grinding. Fallen on his knees holding his own wig, the old dude swears he's ready for training. Bowing in an exaggerated way, he hands over the master's outfit, who doesn't get it at all. By pointing at the old leather, he reveals he suffered through the poison to focus on training, swearing to go all out, even though he couldn't manage to wash the stained clothes without hesitation. The MC throws the leather in the old dude's face, telling him to put it on and scaring him, calling the piece a great uniform, making the poor guy chop wood while terrified. Desperate, Nari rushes into the living room, warning that the egg is acting bizarre, gathering everyone around the shell that shakes and cracks with major tension in the air. He states right off the bat that the new pet is finally ready to hatch, leaving the old guy in panic over the danger level, while the girl jumps for joy. She bets it must be a cute critter, but the apprentice reminds them you truly never know. Cutting through the bad vibe, the girl really believes it'll be a super lovely little creature. No one saw that coming. The shell finally breaks, revealing the sinister yellow eye, proving the danger, making the old guy hide behind Nari, who watches everything front row with zero fear. With sharp claws it tears the rest of the egg, showing it was born ready to brawl. Then a scaly golden tail swings in the air, building a huge suspense inside the cabin. Narrating the terror from up close, the man questions what kind of bizarre monster that is. But the surprise hits when they see a yellow snake, with a chick's face and a shell mohawk. Utterly clueless, the bald guy watches as Nari melts over how cute the pet is, kicking the heck out of its own shell. The little creature quickly shows who's boss. It athletically leaps towards the group, freezing the rest of the crew on the spot. aiming right for the old dude's shiny bald head, and latching on just like a tick. Because of that, the poor guy lets out a scream of terror that could be heard for miles, shaking even the branches outside. Since the loud yelling spooked the local wildlife, afterward we see the man chopping wood, while the Volf pup seems to be giving him a lecture, suffering in the toxic outfit that barely lets him breathe. He admires his master's strength inside. The MC stretches his body, folding more clothes and enjoying the peace of that day, until Nari screams about the pet eating bread, and the boss turns around, ready for trouble. Turns out it was just the snake snacking peacefully, proving the beast was gentle and obedient, explaining that the snake knows who saved it, making room to finally pick its name. They get the idea to call it Sasa, but the pet hates it and bolts across the field, running and shouting right away, with the Volf Pop rushing to help with the search. With a genuine laugh, the MC notices just how much Nori loved their brand new mascot, mentioning it's a super rare and entirely new species, getting full support from the pet. But there's a quick warning to watch out for mandrakes if the beast is from the volcano. Feeling confused about the reason for that warning, while the little plants sprout innocently right then, Goo drops the truth. Beasts from there love munching on plants and attack on sight, especially craving the ones packed with demonic energy. The rookie wants to devour the mandrakes. Soon enough the little snake pops up, glaring at the small plants with a super hostile look, letting out a menacing chirp, claiming its spot as the enemy. The poor things are terrified, seeing the beast ready for combat. The bald guy is completely confused, not getting the beef at all, but the MC stays totally chill, while Nari tries to break up the fight, super worried, explaining that in the demonic realm, the pecking order is sometimes settled by raw power. Since they're still young and not that dangerous, he decides to just watch from a distance. Meanwhile the chick snake keeps staring them down, with that deadly gaze, leaving the youngest mandrake shaking with fear, letting out a tiny squeak of pure terror, going right after the weakest one, in a completely cowardly move, popping its claws out, and charging forward at a ridiculous speed. Except the older sister blocks the strike with the twig. Beautiful teamwork right there. Right after that the second plant counters, proving there is strength in numbers, landing a clean headbutt on the critter, making it see stars, blocking the impact with its tail. The cyborg girl quickly notices the beast is grinning. However, the third little plant sneaks up right behind it, firing off a massive energy beam, before the pet even realizes where it came from, knocking the snake to the dirt, and proving that size really doesn't matter. Looking at the teary-eyed mascot, the old dude can't believe it is the beast crying. It's pure shock since, according to Nari, this is the very first time it got clowned, bringing the boys' final verdict. The plants definitely took the win in round 1, making the bald guy super hyped about the epic brawl, something even Goo agrees with. Calling the crew back, Goo rushes the old man, who doubts if the boss is even human. Cutting to a blue sky and the ocean breeze, do we finally have some peace? And that's where it gets crazy. A massive humanoid pterodactyl appears, soaring through the sky, being a birdman with bat wings and a shredded physique, a pretty bizarre design. He rocks a calm look and a blue stone necklace. Could it be an ally or more trouble? Back at HQ we see the brand new cabin, built from hard sweat and someone else's labor. The bald guy carries logs while Goo rides his back, demanding speed like a tyrant. Meanwhile the biomachine rubs oil on the little snake, who is enjoying a nice spa moment. As for the Chimera boy, he keeps putting away clothes in absolute peace, wearing his beat-up leather outfit. Right after the old dude finished washing off the poison, he lets out a scream of pure despair that echoes in his soul. The guy is completely drained, looking like he hasn't slept a wink in 2 days, exhausted by the whole situation. On his knees and covered in a gloomy aura, he wonders if it was even worth it. The MC praises the good washing job, leaving the bald guy stuttering hard. Suddenly Nari sniffs the air and catches a floral scent, leaving the old dude pretty lost, bringing a very chill vibe and an atmosphere that feels like a lavender breeze. This makes the girl wonder why everything smells like flowers, if it's built out of wood. Super proud, the boss explains that Goo picked out aromatic woods. Fancy pet, right? Then the big Volf brags, guaranteeing all the clothes will smell fantastic. Even the mandrakes pop out of the dirt to enjoy the scent, totally approving the upgrade. While Sasa takes a sweet nap, Nori celebrates that he loved his new home. Then the bald guy uncovers a curious detail. The name Sasa was the boss's own idea. Trying to help, he suggests Chick Snake, a terrible idea that creates an awkward silence. On the other hand, Nari prefers to call it Payak, and decides to ask her furry friend's opinion. Out of nowhere he blurts the great steps in the drawer, leaving everyone clueless, revealing his pompous name, Horseshoe of the Rocky Mountain. The boss just gives up. He drops the hammer on Sasa and that's final, while the little snake keeps snoring, with the duel agreeing right away. After all, compared to the other names, anything works. Getting back on track, Goo asks what the next move is. With the expansion fully finished, that catches our boy completely off guard, since he hadn't planned a single thing. Gathering the group, he brings up an idea from the human world, something brand new in his solo life. He flashes a huge smile and warns that everything's changed now because he became a family man, deciding to build a heavy-duty fence to block off intruders whenever he's away. Except the old dude doubts anyone would walk in there, since the house already gives off a sinister vibe. The boss points out the danger is real, with strong monsters or annoying hunters possibly showing up. All the while Nori just watches the whole conversation, with that adorable little face of hers. Shortly after Gu agrees, and suggests grabbing stones packed with demonic energy. Over at the coastal region, explaining that deep in the sea, there's a tough yellowish quartz that glows in the dark. That makes the boy picture the fence, thinking it would give off a great camping vibe, announcing the trip on the spot. Mary loves the beach idea, but the bald guy almost has a heart attack. He panics as he remembers what that place is like, feeling his soul practically leave his body. In a quick flashback he's shown badly hurt, proving that region is an absolute nightmare. Trying to dodge the mission, making up an excuse about needing to drain his demonic energy. The MC couldn't care less, and tells him to tend the plants. Believed the old guy begs them to be super careful, warning that the area is strictly off limits, since 2 disaster-level beasts run the yard. He catches the boy by surprise, by revealing their chimeras that escaped from a lab, detailing their bird-like look with a human body, forming a pretty bizarre mix. We cut to that birdman flying with serious style, a genuinely badass design. Meanwhile on a cliff nearby, hunters confirm the beast is already in their crosshairs, with one of the henchmen already charging up a massive, glowing ring of golden energy, firing the magic strike full force, right at the flying target. A massive blast goes off after a direct hit. The attack was dead on, knocking the creature far back. The shooter even mocks it, thinking the danger was just a rumor, but their leader tells them to hold their horses and wait until the beast hides in its nest. This makes the goon question their status. The boss quickly explains they're just rejects, speaking that the original projects are flawed and cannot tarnish human science. However, in a moment of panic, the squad's lookout freaks out and calls the boss. No one saw that coming. The lens shows the beast didn't retreat, and now it's rushing back at full speed. The hunter warns him, completely desperate, that the beast locked its gaze right on them, making the leader lose his cool and order them to throw up a barrier. Right away the fear hit hard, with the beast diving like a meteor, smashing head-on against the green light shield, shattering the protection instantly, making the suit feel the shockwave and get knocked. Breathless sends the crew flying into the air. The shooter is dumbfounded, seeing the barrier get obliterated, while the giant bird does a flip in the sky, already setting up another devastating dive, flashing sharp claws making the intruders feel like their time is finally up. Fallen on the ground, the operation boss begs for his own survival. Out of nowhere, little Nari lands a clean punch on the beast, telling it to stop the bullying. Getting pushed back, quickly realizes the girl's power. Noticing she's a chimera, she lands with precision, right in front of the visiting duo. The vibe in the area gets heavy instantly, with Nari calling the beast a coward, but the boss quickly realizes the story is actually flipped nearby. The hunter tells the leader that their radars detected a machine in the zone. The MC easily figures out these guys are after Nari, and gives her head a protective pat. Getting dead serious, our boy says he never imagined crossing paths with a certain someone. Again he flashes a smirk, and asks if the birdhead doesn't remember him, bringing up their days as lab buddies, leaving the huge beast completely shell-shocked. With a slight mock the guy confesses he didn't even think his old friend was still kicking. Watching this unfold, the intruders are confused, and the leader uses the opening to bail out. Right then the suit tries to back off, but the MC knows the problem will only get worse later, warning that the beef ends right there. The Birdman quickly recognizes the boy in shock. Intense flashback of cells 17 and 33 hits, weakening of chemicals, showing both of them laying on stretchers, surrounded by the sinister vibe of the lab. Back in the present, our MC greets his old buddy super casually. He brings up another memory from 66 years ago, with guards hot on their trail in a desperate escape. The goons are yelling not to let anyone slip away. Sprinting with Youngja, the bird boy panics, as he feels the effects taking a toll on his body. With his arm wrecked, he even doubts if running from that nightmare was actually a good idea. Feeling the pressure, he thinks maybe the whole sacrifice wasn't even worth it. He looks up at the sky frustrated, even wondering if he should have left his sister behind. While Ja rests, he complains that those weak little wings are completely useless. But the girl praises the warmth of his wings, giving him the strength to tell her to keep going. Dashing to the dark woods, he promises that some backup would show up soon. Fear freezes him right after seeing the backup was just our little MC, holding a light, dropping his jaw to the floor as he recognizes test subject 17. Right in the middle of nowhere, the boy warns that they were going to scrap the bird, only to get called a weirdo by his friend, disclosing that a spell would wipe them out. In 3 days though Ja was safe, he suggests looking for meds, getting quickly shut down by his buddy, who was already at his limit, remembering his sister's trauma, crying and begging to escape that bad dream. Just wanting to go back to normal, even if only for a single day. Heartbreaking stuff, making the boy reflect on whether time, or how you live is what truly matters. And that's where it gets crazy. And energy bursts and the wings evolve, choosing to live free even for a short bit. Fully transformed and full of swagger now, he immediately calls his friend out for a brawl. However, our MC just replies with that classic blank stare, right in the middle of all that tension, pulling a massive blue gate out of thin air, and completely ruining the fight's vibe. It leaves the little bird wide-eyed, not understanding how he found such a rare item, explaining the rules of the demonic realm. Either the human side poisons them and they kick the bucket, or the monster half absorbs everything, and they become full-blown beasts once and for all, assuring with complete certainty that the second option was way better, for living freely since the spell doesn't work there. His buddy quickly questions if survival is actually possible. The MC calms him down, pointing out that using Mona as a shield makes it worth the risk. Hearing the guards getting closer, the bird boy agrees to the madness on the spot. Then the MC mentions that, even after sharing a cell for years, he never knew his name. He finally reveals his name is Yubian. Still processing all that wild stuff, with his hand glowing gold, our hero introduces himself as Shane Dawon. Cutting back to the present, the MC tests the fleeing suit's memory. The guy's mind is already wiped clean, having zero clue what he came there to do. Pointing at a gate, the boy tells them to scram and forget everything. True Mib style, super curious. The big Valkyrie quickly asks if he used the forgetting powder, explaining that the herb erases the last 3 hours of memory, leaving the pet mind blown. He looks the huge beast in the eye, clearing up the doubt if that was really old UBM. At that moment, little Nori tugs at the boss's clothes, super curious about the situation, asking if he's friends with the birdie. The MC confirms, playing along. Thrilled, the girl says their tribes are longtime partners, offering sincere apologies for the hit. While the big bird is completely lost in the story, suddenly the girl's stomach growls loud, showing that massive hunger just kicked in hard, whining to the boss that she needs to grab a bite. Right away the boy wastes no time, and asks if his buddy has any grub over at his place. Itching out entirely, the huge beast questions if the cute brat is his friend's daughter. He reveals a giant beach house that looks like a nest. The little one thinks it's awesome, sitting everyone down on a mat chillin', with the hero approving the humble abode. Soon the host serves the food in a giant bowl, but warns he can't vouch for the taste, bringing out massive clams, grilled in nut butter and a red moss paste. The little girl is stunned by the size, while the boss trusts the good smell. Even the big Wolf jumps on the food critic wave, and takes the first bite to test it out, experiencing a massive, philosophical flavor trip upon tasting the dish, loving it way too much. Meanwhile, Nari devours everything with her cheeks stuffed, loving the seafood's texture. The boy also takes a chance on the red sauce, and agrees that seasoning is cracked. Full of pride, the bird reveals that moss is his grand secret ingredient, turning back into a human. The guy even asks them to eat slowly, but the dish is gone fast. However, the house owner senses a weird energy in the air, and the peaceful lunch is history. Noticing the heavy vibe, our hero quickly figures out a huge problem is on the way. As for the girl, she ignores the tension completely, pulling the pot and asking the uncle for more grub. Fully oblivious to the danger, she announces she's going to grab 10 more clams in the water all by herself, proving the brat's hunger truly has no limits, caring very little about the danger. Right then the boy reflects on how he lasted so long, thanks to his immortal cells, seizing the opening to ask if his friend plans on getting payback against the scientists. He looks at the girl eating peacefully, and the Birdman says he'll let the revenge slide, throwing the bomb right back. He mentions the cruel life limit they both carry. He warns that the cells glitch out in the human world, then asks about the bird look. Getting dead serious, the big guy reveals he can take on his normal form, but refuses, all because G's face was disfigured, and it wouldn't be fair for him to look like a stud. Right now, catching the guy's loyalty, the boy gives a heavy look, knowing the sad truth. He lets his friend to know he only has 1 more month to live, something he already suspected himself, explaining his past, recalling that he had to fight hard when he first arrived in that place. He managed to stabilize the evil energy in his body, and lived in peace for quite a while, triggering a super chill flashback of them meditating peacefully on top of the beach rocks. But the joy was short-lived, as his sister's monocore fried, and everything spun out of control, forced to push his own limits to hold the girl down, wrecking his body in the process, revealing that she knocks her own body out by eating poisonous fruit, so she doesn't lose her mind for good. The hero thinks of the little plants in his backyard, and quickly realizes he has the perfect cure, showing the weird toxic fruits that serve as medicine to knock the poor girl out. Inside a pitch-black cave, the girl is shown laying on straw, living a life of pure suffering, groaning in pain while asleep, proving the poison only delays the issue, but doesn't heal it. He remembers the day she let out a bizarre scream, wearing a sinister bone mask, leaving her poor brother in pure despair, clueless on how they were supposed to live like that. To cut the bad vibes, our MC brings a god-tier solution: pure mandrake water. Being exactly those little monsters in his backyard that scream loud and wreck everything around the house. They might even look like weak plants, with stringy roots, but looks can be very deceiving, since that water packs pure life energy, quickly fixing any broken core. Full of confidence, he reveals he runs a little farm of them, and promises to craft the miracle, giving his partner a ton of hope, but warning they'll need an alchemist mage. He tells the big guy to play babysitter while he searches something. He accepts right away, but the MC quickly freezes, remembering those folks charge a premium, and his flat broke seeing the financial pinch. The big Volfgu steps up, with a killer plan up his sleeve. He brings a giant hiking backpack to his owner, leaving the Birdman pretty confused, revealing the intruder's stash, proving the alchemist's payment was already secured. After waving a nice goodbye to the crew, our hero flies back to settle the business in the city. Walking down the normal streets now, he bumps into a very familiar face, and the kid quickly mentions the association opened a branch in the slums last year. Noticing the guy's weights, the boss asks about them, and finds out it's resistance training. He wants to get strong just like his big bro, leaving our hero entirely clueless, praising the guy's guts for facing the demonic realm, with just the clothes on his back. And he points to a building falling apart, which happens to be the association's branch. 13 gossiping about the new manager Kim, who has a reputation for being a beast at alchemy. As he gets closer to the place, the boy immediately hears a super sketchy conversation going down, seeing a sweaty older dude on the phone, swearing he hasn't been late on payments in 20 years, to chat with a loan shark, since loans like that are super common in that shady neighborhood, revealing the man hustled in the capital for 20 years before getting exiled out there. He guesses the guy makes a massive mistake, but the guy denies it right away, explaining that the old boss was siphoning cash from the slums, being a massive scumbag on top of shamelessly stealing credit for all the team's hard work. Since the humble manager snitched on the scheme, he ended up getting kicked to that dump. Just then the old man walks up with a posture, completely beaten down by his tough life, called out by the guide instantly. The manager quickly cracks a smile upon recognizing the guy introducing our hero. He said, they're in desperate need of an alchemist right now. They know that finding a high-level pro around there would be an almost impossible mission. Adding the kid's head, the man praises his effort, something pretty rare in that neighborhood. He lets the guy go train, while the manager invites the boy inside the branch, walking into an office that was entirely empty, with zero foot traffic, with an assistant slouched in his chair, complaining he'd be selling cheap potions forever, until the little chime of the doorbell breaks the silence of the room. Instantly jumping from pure shock, the guy immediately gets scolded by the boss, asking for drinks for the guest. Boy gets straight to the point, and asks if he can brew mandrake water. Looking quite surprised, the man says he can, but the plant was impossible to find. He pulls the magic item out of his pocket right then, dropping the manager's jaw, leaking a bizarre energy into the air, since the mandrake root was super fresh. Utterly amazed by the rare plant, it was something entirely new in his life, announcing he pay with coastal items. The boy slams the heavy backpack right on the table. The man can barely believe he came back from that place alive after seeing the rare monster loot, spotting 3 high-tier pearls in there, something not even the main headquarters had in stock, with the assistant almost having a stroke, seeing the food was still moving, dropping their jaws at the absurd purity of that regional red moss. After confirming the payment, the boy finds out that cash could buy the whole building soon. The cowardly assistant runs off to fetch the material appraisal machine, but our boy feels a really weird vibe from that employee's rushed exit. Pointing at a nearby glass, he spots another plant and catches the man in a lie. The man explains that the plant had been dead for 10 years, acting purely as a souvenir. Flashing a confident smile, the boy guarantees the root in the jar was very much alive. He tosses some mana into the jar, and the thing quickly twitches, showing it just needed energy, turning the man pale, as he realizes the weed was just asleep from a lack of power. Right then, the place's door swings wide open, bringing trouble right back to the counter. It's the dreaded suited up, corrupt big boss, making the poor manager shake in his boots, staring at the intruder. The boy quickly notices he must have grown quite a bit, ruthlessly mocking the place. The suit says it looks like a complete dump, throwing major, greedy eyes straight at the valuable treasures left on the table. The alchemist instantly realizes the cowardly assistant acted like a total rat, bragging about having smart subordinates with super handy teleportation magic. He locks eyes on the boy asking about the items, but gets a massive harsh response, trying to bribe the kid with promises of easy cash and heavy luxury in the big city. But our hero cuts the chatter, saying the deal with the manager was going great, only ignoring the offer. He notices a huge wart on the playboy's nose, with the alchemist confirming the mark. The boy asks if he's related to a certain old man, laughing out loud the suit loves hearing. They remembered his super famous grandpa. He pumps his chest with pure pride, only to hear our boy roast his genetics, pulling up the old memory of that mad scientist, calling kids pure useless trash. With a cruel look the geezer mocked that their parents must be in the demonic realm, telling the victims to beg for help in the afterlife, proving to be a highly disgusting old man. Boy loses his patience right there, flicking his finger, and ripping the guy's wart right off, knocking the suit to the floor, asking in pure rage if he was a scumbag, just like his grandpa. He accuses the guy of enjoying stealing and humiliating folks, making the suit sweat cold. With a sharp and menacing glare, he presses him to find out if the old lab still existed, leaving the playboy terrified and swearing up and down he never heard of that operation. The hero questions the details of the forbidden slab, making the humble manager sweat with fear, getting up all sore. The Gramston argues that the old man dedicated his entire life to research. He shows a picture of a medal, claiming the family always helped the victims. Super sarcastic, the hero warns it was pure guilt over so much evil, recalling the geezer kicked the bucket early, since that fall out the window was fatal. This freezes the executive to the bone, since that detail was a strictly kept family secret. No one saw that coming, bringing the proof in a memory, proving it was the boy himself who gave the little push. Playing the kid version of the hero, standing right by the window. Way too dangerous. He explains the old man destroyed lives, so he just did everyone a solid by collecting his debt early, telling the spoiled brats to dig into his family's past, promising to come back for answers. Boy remembers his own childish hand, cruelly branded with a test subject. No. 17, spending his whole youth chained up, with his head messed up by deeply confusing memories, with his arms turning into massive dangerous claws, surviving in the middle of pure chaos, acting strictly on wild animal instinct, always used as a living weapon for combat. He thinks to himself that the cursed place must have changed its front several times, breaking the tension. The manager comes back smiling with the order. 2 green bottles, tiny flasks, reveal the plant's miracle liquid, glowing bright inside, praising the man's speed, since an alchemy master gets the job done in half an hour. Modest Pro points out that with elite ingredients, the brewing gets super easy. Loving the flawless service, the hero drops a 10-long-year contract on the table. This leaves the poor man frozen, since that amount would solve every single one of his problems, making him break down crying on a dramatic level, shedding tears like a waterfall. He remembers the struggle of his house, getting raided by loan sharks, with debt snowballing out of control, from the days he had to study with the lights out, and could never climb out of rock bottom. Pretty awkward with the crying. The boy asks him to chill and says he's counting on him. He takes the gate right back to the demonic realm, with the cure secured. However, the second he steps onto his home turf, he finds the ground completely torn up, seeing the big bird fighting against his very own sister, who lost her mind entirely. Boy blames himself big time for not foreseeing an attack of that level happening, trying everything to wake the girl's mind, but her eyes don't focus on anything anymore. She rocks a bone mask, letting out a menacing roar that would spook anyone, and just like that everything changed. The beast goes fully out of control, rushing straight at her poor relative, proving that the long years of pure friendship and companionship went straight down the drain. Boss watches the destruction from the front row, quickly realizing things just got super ugly. The moment of truth arrives, and stepping into a mess like this was totally inevitable. With a brutal hit, the Birdman gets sent flying like a rag doll, feeling the weight of failure. The hero wonders if he showed up too late. Right then the big Wolf angrily announces that playtime is officially over. The little bio machine and the pet quickly tell the big guy to fall back, promising to handle everything, while the old dude braces for the worst. Since the boy already saved them, he swears it's time to return the favor, making the ground shake and debris fly. Charging into the attack like a bulldozer, he expects a cruel goodbye from his sister, wishing he'd find happiness in his next life. But the beast in monster mode doesn't care for words, acting strictly on pure instinct. Right at the last second, a very bizarre flower sprouts in the middle of that chaos, forming a giant gooey bubble that swallows the plant and blows up like a balloon. It knocks the big guy backward, leaving him spooked by that weird thing popping up, sitting on the slime. The boss says that should be enough to put her to sleep. Quietly peeking out, the little cyborg girl celebrates that the boss finally arrived. The bird is terrified right now, thinking it was a giant jellyfish on the beach, with the goo trapping the struggling beast. The massive guy goes into a pure panic, stuttering from nerves. He quickly asks where the highly anticipated medicine is. He flashes a confident smile, tossing the flasks and telling him to administer the cure right away. After all the mess, they build a campfire and roast a little fish in absolute peace, leaving the empty bottles scattered on the ground, proving the mission was a total success. While the whole crew passed out from exhaustion, snoring loud after that wild ordeal. Right then the big wolf opens just one eye, grumbling like someone waking from a great dream. Our hero is also enjoying his sleep, but a lingering doubt shows trouble is brewing. Until the sister wakes up, sees her monster reflection, and wonders if it was all a bad dream. Opening her eyes super slowly, to try and figure out what was going on around her, she spots the boy and her brother, chilling under the moonlight, just chatting away. Turning his head instantly, the boss quickly asks what that weird noise was. Driven by pure shock, she jumps up, asking who the kid is. Her memory completely wiped. Soon the little robot wakes up too, thrilled to see Auntie Sparrow finally on her feet, leaving the woman entirely confused by that super funny and unusual nickname full of hype. She introduces herself and tells her to check her monocore, which makes the woman even more lost, trying to grasp what she was talking about, until a blue light shines from her chest, showing her core is 100% healed. Touching her own face in shock, she realizes her monster face is a thing of the past. Desperate to know everything, while her brother finds it weird, she doesn't recognize their savior, making the reality hit the woman hard, unable to believe who is sitting right there on the sand as she watches the boy munch on a skewer. The memory of test subject 17 rushes back in, running to confirm was her brother, who quickly swears it's the kid from the lab. She thinks to herself that this grown-up kid could only be a guardian angel, but the boy is super practical, simply asking if there's any red moss left. Giant Bird quickly lets him know that their stash of that valuable item is completely gone, confirming the woman's suspicions since old No. 17 was always straight to the point. With a tight grip on her pendant, she gathers all her courage to say thanks, flashing a beautiful smile, taking off the creepy mask, and thanking him from the bottom of her heart. Right then, the little girl spots a super mysterious light glowing out on the horizon, rushing straight toward the water, excitedly warning, "There's something lighting up the ocean." As the woman adjusts her mask again, she reveals they are super shy sea fairies, explaining they're seahorse-like critters that earned that adorable nickname, always surfacing during the night, but diving back deep down the second the sun pops up. The boss pieces it together right away, following the little creature's lead straight to the valuable quartz, asking how long until sunrise, with the big bird noting it's happening real soon. With a wide stretch, the boy says he's completely ready for this trip, cutting to a luxury office in the big city, where the vibe is incredibly heavy, where the mad scientist demands to know the whereabouts of his famous biomachine creature. With his lucky reporting that 10 hunters already failed their search along the coast, reporting beaten agents with amnesia, though the tracker signal is still kicking, until the scientist's phone rings, with a suited boss on the other end of the line, picking up with a serious tone. The executive quickly grills him about the old lab. He throws out a classic bait, but the sly scientist completely plays dumb, getting nervous and swearing honesty. While the suit tries to explain himself, the guy brags that he learned how to be fair from his grandpa, acting incredibly fake, flashing a wicked little smirk. He swears he never forgot that old man's lessons. He hangs up the call right after, finding it weird the guy brought up an old illegal scheme. Right then, someone knocks frantically on his office door. Is the assistant rushing in with a briefcase, super hyped about a new project, explaining he mixed liquid metal with mandrakes to forge a brand new monster. And that's where it gets crazy, showing a floating slime. The terrifying liquid metal mandrake is born. Right there watching it, all amazed. Through the glass reflection, hyped that the grim plan actually worked, he thanks his lucky stars for saving that last little bit of the rare substance, ordering to triple the bounty on the machine creature instantly and call in the elite. With pure obsession, he stares at a photo of the little robot, swearing to reclaim his masterpiece. Cutting back to the demonic realm, the big guy is standing on the beach. With his arms crossed, he notices a fence, built entirely out of expensive stones, thinking the whole thing is totally insane. During the campfire, the boy invites the duo to swing by his place, talking up his new chef big time, making the Sparrow brother pretty suspicious. After confirming the invite, he gets asked why he hasn't returned to the human world yet, but the boss flips a script real quick, asking if he feels any desire to go back, getting deep in thought because of his past, but admitting a massive curiosity. He suggests they might be able to lift his curse over there, totally breaking the guy's mind. Right after, he brings up the skilled manager Kim, the cracked alchemist on his squad, saying that having the choice to return is vastly different from being banned forever. A deep silence falls over the campfire as he processes this potential life-changing shift, making the Birdman break down in tears, asking why the kid is helping them so much. Honestly, he explains that seeing the duo's bond made him rethink his own priorities, proof that life couldn't just boil down to fighting for pure survival, and that helping others might just bring the answers he's searching for. Deep down, suddenly, the giant bird cheerfully announces that the sea fairies are coming up, flying full speed, and pulling a golden wine out of the water, in an epic fishing haul, with the woman tossing the end of the rope onto the sand, calling for some teamwork. He grabs the rope with a quick reflex, startled by the absurd weight of that thing, following his sister's orders. The big guy uses some seriously badass strength. The rope slices hard through the sand, revealing the insane size of their catch. This is where it gets good. Pulling a colossal net packed with golden sea quartz, shocking everyone there, and the bird's jaw drops, wanting to know if they mined all of that entirely by themselves soon. The boy and the bionic girl walk out of the ocean, laughing endlessly at their sea adventure, saying that swimming was way too awesome, leaving the little chick outfit looking happy. A flashback shows the perfect blast they had, with the stingrays and little fairies, the little girl swimming freely, wearing a tiny golden seahorse right on her head, mesmerized, remembering that the fairy's home was a literal, sunken golden palace, already missing the incredible trip, hoping to head back there as soon as possible. Nodding, our protagonist already wants to know if they can get moving. He stares at the quartz mountain, wondering how they'll carry all of that, admitting he has to figure this out. He looks up a bit confused. A giant blue parrot vulture crosses the sky, completely catching his eye. Turns out it's a super exotic beast that usually travels in flocks. The girls watch, finding the bird pretty, but Cheyenne warns things change up close, explaining that they're over 4 meters tall, spit acid, and are pure rage. You can clearly see the mischief in the boy's eyes, already treating the beast like a free cargo truck, dropping from the sky. Shifting focus to some baby mandrakes in the dirt, looking super adorable. Meanwhile, Bongsu pops up meditating in Zen mode, highly focused on his training, with his monocle glowing. It shows the hard work is finally paying off. Reaching rank A isn't such a distant dream anymore. However, when he asks about our MC, an eared fish jumps right in front of him, coming face to face with a liquid metal mandrake, and letting out a massive scream. Suddenly someone comes flying in with a drop kick, and sends the little beast far away. Turns out to be 3 hooded ninjas, with one of them already mocking the whole situation. Looking closer, the blonde leader actually seems to recognize the boy. They mistake him for Nam Ji-suk, the famous bald guy of the crew, making fun of his outfit, which fills Bong-suk with pure rage. He quickly realizes they're the same punks. From registration day, fear strikes him. When several mandrakes start sprouting out of the dirt, the ninjas get greedy, knowing just 3 of those roots are worth a fortune, trying to play the good guy. To lure the little critters closer, since his big bro treats them like treasure, the kid decides to protect them all. Surprisingly, the boss mandrake completely ignores the intruders, and lets out a mocking chirp. It stomps the ground so hard that the entire earth shakes, creating a massive shockwave that sends the ninjas flying, completely botting all of them. Those clowns are left totally lost, thinking a real earthquake just hit. Right then the bird siblings arrive at the spot, finding the lack of houses pretty weird. Flying way up in the sky, the parrot vulture shows up, sweating bullets from nerves. With Nari complaining about the slow speed, the MC admits he went a bit too hard on the taming. Down below, Bongsu is full panic mode, thinking the world flipped upside down. The bird siblings quickly recognize that flying beast as a disaster class monster, remembering that the MC and Nari had headed exactly in that direction. Trembling in pure despair, his eye twitches while staring at all this chaos. He even considers teaming up with those trash ninjas, just to survive, but Ja grabs his face and asks if he's our hero's cook, screaming in terror when he realizes the monster is actually talking to him. Desperate to know how these creatures knew his boss, Shin tells him they're friends, leaving the guy's brain completely short-circuited. Pointing at the knocked-out ninjas, the creature asks who they are, making him stutter. A spark of mischief suddenly lights up in our cook's head, flashing a clever little smirk. He gets ready for some sweet revenge. He shamelessly snitches that they're thieves, trying to steal the family's plants. 1 hour later, the scene cuts back to the clearing, where the main base sits, showing off the humble little cabin, and those well-built wooden platforms. And just like that, everything changed. A violent impact almost blows the whole place up. It's actually the MC and Nari landing, with that net full of quartz, pumped to be home. Meanwhile, the poor bird completely passes out from the heavy load. Petting the beast, he drops Jia's jaw. With that incredibly cracked taming skill, Shin just shrugs, claiming nothing is impossible for the kid, since he's built different. Right then, some little white critters with symbols on their heads come rolling across the dirt, with the mascot mentioning he hasn't flown like that in ages, before quickly getting spooked. The little ghost is left completely baffled, seeing the 3 ninjas tied to a log. Finding the setup sketchy, the MC knows there's definitely something fishy going on. Right as he's about to spill the beans, Shin catches Jia's suspicious glare. To shake off the suspicion, she asks Nari for a house tour, hyping the girl up about the waterfall. Taking advantage of the girls walking away, the big guy drops the whole truth on our hero. He explains the lab is still hunting for Nori, using these goons quickly, connecting the dots back to the mad scientist he already wiped the floor with. He remembers that special tracker that worked, even out here in the demonic realm, trying to figure out how they got so far away. Shin promises there's a solid explanation, pointing at the super sad metal mandrake. He reveals she's the one to blame. Our boy understands the metal fused into the plant was meant to track Neri's body. However, the little critter was lured by the wild ones in the forest, just wanting to find a relative. Knowing those ninjas weren't giving up that easy, they planned to head right back to the coast. All of a sudden, the local mandrakes start throwing a massive fit out in the yard, with their leader stopping her foot on the dirt, looking pretty fed up with the whole situation. Translating the tantrum helps him realize the plants just wanted their metal relative back. Without a second thought, he hands the mandrake right over to the pack leader. He sees the little plant happy with its new family, but doesn't get how they sensed her in his pocket. As he hears Chin's jokes, the MC explains he only grabbed the plant to keep it. Safe remembering manager Kim crying, he decides it's way better to leave her with her own kind. The alchemist's desperate plea to take good care of the little critter flashes through his mind right then. The local plants start digging up a warm little hole for their new roommate, but both the dead plant and the metal one stay, looking super bummed out in the corner, taking the boss step closer, looking worried, knowing this transition was gonna be rough. As Gu comments about family bonds, the boy suddenly remembers Namjitsu. A loud scream calling for him echoes across the clearing jump, scaring everyone. It's actually Jay and Nari flying in, with Bonsu letting them know they're finally back. Crying his eyes out, the kid clings to the MC, who quickly asks what went down. He reports almost getting eaten by some weird fish, until Auntie Sparrow saved him. In an attempt to change the subject, he offers to cook but gets hit with a crazy scene. He sees that massive parrot vulture, completely passed out there, acting like it's the end of the world. Freaking out big time, he demands to know where that giant, venomous beast came from. The MC brushes off the questions, telling him to save the explanations and focus on the food. Curious about the menu, Bonsu sees Nari already holding the answer right on the tip of her tongue. Nearby, the metal mandrake sprouts up, super shy, just wanting to make some friends. Our biomachine approaches with pure gentleness, deciding to step in and help, using a bit of mana to make those tiny metal leaves glow with bright energy. This leaves the little plant super happy, sealing a brand new adorable friendship between them. Bird siblings watch the whole thing, completely shell-shocked by that magic. Shortly after, the dish gets served, turning out to be a massive plate of kimchi curry rice. Full of pride, Bonsu admits the ingredients came from a packet, but he added a ton of love to make it special. He chopped up fresh pork and veggies, dedicating his soul to the cooking pan, stirring the broth for a solid hour, non-stop to guarantee that perfect flavor. Our hero praises the awesome smell, quickly giving the green light to dig in. Curious, Ji decides to test the grub, finding a clever way to eat through her mask. Her reaction is pure joy, finding the dish incredibly spicy and delicious. Laughing at the whole scene, our boy feels like his own house turned into a comedy show. Noticing Nari staying super quiet in the corner, our hero quickly asks what's up. She replies looking super down, saying her appetite completely vanished, claiming she's going to sleep, which makes the boy brainstorm a plan to cheer her up. With the full moon lighting up the sky, the night rolls on at the family base. Meanwhile, the new mandrakes are catching some deep sleep, right in the dirt, until one of the little plants wakes up, kind of lost, not really getting where it is. Beginning of satisfied, Chien catches a scolding from his sister for eating like a complete pig. To help digest the food, the crew decides to burn some energy, slicing up the quartz blocks, and that's where it gets crazy. A heavy blue light flashes, signaling the gate just opened. Loading. Sadly, the girl claims her presence only brings danger to everyone around. She walks firmly toward the vortex, ready to go right back where she came from. Panicking hard, the boy rushes into the wall and screams her name, tears falling while holding the metallic plant tight. He says goodbye as the portal pulls her, but our hero is way faster, grabbing the girl and making it crystal clear that her home is right there. Watching the scene, the sparrow uncle drops a philosophical quote about kids growing up. He hugs the little one tight, swearing he'll never take his eyes off her again. Later on, things settle down, and the crew gathers up for the famous midnight snack. Hiding under the blankets, the kid devours the ramen, chasing all that sadness away. She praises the special seasoning, making the cook super proud of his recipe. Catching a scolding from Ja for trying to run off, making the girl apologize endlessly. Soon feeling the spicy burn, she gets a nice yogurt from our protagonist, with Bonsu smiling and bringing up his mom's tip to cut down that burning feeling. That makes the crew remember the lab used to hand out a similar drink too. Acting like the squad savior, the guy goes around, handing out more yogurts in the room, while he washes the dishes. The muscle trio goes back to grinding hard on the fences, counting those fermented sweets as the true MVPs of that wild night. In the middle of this chill vibe, the little girl apologizes again for causing so much trouble. She gets full support from the boss, who guarantees the blame falls completely on those mad scientists. Getting dead serious, he asked her to spill more details about the famous coconut tribe, caught completely off guard, having to talk about her friends from the past, because the boy wants to make sure no innocents get hurt. When he tears that lab down, in another corner, Things heat up with a heavy interrogation going down. Seeing the blonde ninja freak out, because he can't even cast his own magic. It takes a massive smack to learn that this Chad is gonna be strictly hands-on, desperately trying to negotiate, offering mountains of cash for his freedom. But Bongsu flexes hard, warning that the price better be worth his precious time. Pulling out that famous elite black card, making the prisoner's eyes pop out of his head, the guy is left completely floored, while our cook shows off his ultimate disrespect, banning himself with the wealth, and brushing off the lame excuses coming out of his mouth. He gives back every single insult he took back on registration day with interest added, questioning if it was fair to use his own strength to rob and scam innocent people. And he reveals a magic pollen ring, perfectly crafted to cause a massive memory wipe. Determined to reset those scumbags' minds, he orders everyone to open their mouths, ignoring their cries for help, and making sure nobody remembers a single thing they saw. The very next day, peace rules the forest again, as if nothing ever went down, with Nari rocking some crazy bedhead, feeling firsthand that taking care of a kid is no joke. And the MC officially calls for the lab raid, taking the guide and leaving Chevin on babysitting duty, showing up looking sharp with a backpack bang. So gives the green light for the trip. Confused by that massive hype, the squad figures out the guy's real motive. He sees the alchemist as the light at the end of the tunnel to fix a certain hair issue, making Uncle Sparrow connect the dots and laugh at the bald man's wild hopes. Ever the sensible one, the masked girl suggests they throw on some disguises. They agree on the spot, knowing that hiding your face always helps dodge extra trouble. In his pure innocence, the guide questions why they even need so much camo. He gets caught off guard when our hero borrows the skull mask, catching a quick scolding to cover his own face too, and play it safe, doubting the item will even fit his head, taking a sharp jab from the girl However, right in the middle of the bickering, the guy feels a really weird squeeze in his chest, with his heart racing like a marching band, leaving his mind completely scrambled, flashing a goofy grin, and accepting that Cupid just struck the right target. Except reality hits hard and just slaps port. Shown over a pure friendly fire mistake. Dropping to his knees real quick, the lover boy asks for permission to clear up a burning question, bold enough to flat out ask for the ideal type of his inspiring muse. Eating her brother, ready to pluck his own feathers out, while the boss just laughs, caught completely off guard. The girl stares at the kid, searching for the right words to say. Meanwhile, the masked MC grabs some imaginary popcorn to watch this live romance unfold. Noticing his sister is taking the question seriously, which makes the tension almost sharp enough to cut. Ready to kill the suspense, the lady decides to lay her cards on the table. Once and for all, he shoots a mysterious look, saying she's into a guy who grabs a ton of attention, adding the fatal detail that her suitor needs to know his way around the dance floor. No one saw that coming. A peacock pops up, busting some crazy moves, glitching our hero's brain completely. Then she adds she loves stick feathers, entirely crushing the bald guy's hopes and dreams. Driven by pure spite, he screams for the alchemist, forcing the crew to take off flying. Shortly after, a massive blue gate tears through the city sky, causing mass panic down in the streets, revealing the silhouette of the sinister mask, ready to make history up on the surface, followed by the giant bird, asserting dominance, and making the guards beg for backup, flying low between the buildings, while the civilians record everything from down below, completely chill way up high. The boy enjoys the ride and notes, "You never turn down a free lift," but getting pressed by his partner, he reminds him that he isn't the mission's guide. He takes in the beautiful horizon view, noticing the color blue dominating the whole scenery, naming the birdie blue, leaving his sidekick totally clueless about the reference. Over at the lab, the director flips out, seeing his hunters with wiped memories. He gets the bitter news that the Chimera is lost, and slams his fist right on the desk, knowing that failure could easily shut off the government's cash flow. For good, the heavy vibe takes over the room, with the shadows of the big shots lurking around, shaking in his boots. The goon shows that the defeated squad brought back a little gift. It turns out to be a golden pearl, with a mocking note, saying their meetup is already scheduled. This is where it gets good. The mad scientist loses his mind, screaming down the halls hunting for the culprit, with so much pent-up rage that he nearly trashes all the equipment around him. Far from there, the boy lands on a rooftop and says he's gonna fix up Blue's feather. Now with boots on the ground, he asks about the real status of their mysterious target, bringing up the intel that the evil base was actually incredibly well hidden. His partner starts sweating bullets, thinking that walking in there is basically asking to be put to sleep, remembering that the newspapers called the boss there the doctor of biomachines. In questioning of messing with those mutants would land them straight in federal prison, our hero couldn't care less about politics, just wanting to raid the place the old school way. Curious about the bird, Bongs uncovers the real issue behind that defective feather. He understands this visual flaw was the exact reason the beast got kicked out of its flock, burning a fresh start in the boss's hands. is what turns the monster into a giant baby that leaves the bald guy totally shocked at how cold-blooded the bird world can be, explaining that the species is obsessed with beautiful feathers, just like real peacocks, and a flashback hit, showing the bird getting bullied hard for having a flawed feather. Panicking as it remembers its childhood in the flock was an absolute nightmare, and our hero figures out it got kicked out, getting attacked without a shred of mercy. Staying totally silent, guide feels empathy right away. Knowing exactly what that's like, clenching his fists he admits he gets the bird's pain, completely relating to it. Looking up, the young guy quickly spots the building and yells that he found the lab. Wasting no time, the boss orders the little bird to fly straight ahead, with everything it's got obeying instantly. The huge beast lets out a deafening war cry, but Bangsu goes into full panic mode when the beast starts diving like a missile, telling him to brace for impact, while the kid already thinks he's about to kick the arriving in a triumphant way, smashing right into the building and blowing a massive hole in the wall, making the staff shake in their boots, totally convinced a war just broke out. Coughing from the dust, the scientist quickly spots a sinister silhouette in the smoke, coming face to face with the giant beak and letting out a high-pitched scream that echoes everywhere, dropping to the floor terrified, unable to believe there's a venomous vulture right there. Golden weights quickly trap everyone. In the middle of screams of pure confusion, stepping firmly into the room, our protagonist announces the perimeter is secured. The guy lost about the invasion, but hearing the directors hang out on the top floor, introducing himself as Little Nori's guardian, which makes the scientist stutter badly, trying to play totally dumb about it while getting stared down in dead silence, until the boy senses a very bizarre energy coming from him through the mask. Cutting back to the association, where the old man grills his grandson about the rank exam, even threatening to kick the boy out. But the spoiled heir completely ignores the scolding, bragging about having the president as his grandpa, and already ranking high at his age, showing he only cares about his allowance, leaving his grandpa furious with all that entitlement. Exhausted at 84 years old, the president stares at the plaque bearing his own name, thinking about stepping down, while his spoiled grandson complains about all that boring stuff, remembering the great heroes from the past who motivated him to build that organization. Looking out the window, totally crushed by the attitude of this new generation, regretting the dark turn research took, remembering a very sad chimera mermaid, knowing hunters cost a premium, recalling a creature lurking around little kids, leaving the poorest folks completely exposed to the dangers and horrors of that world. Taking a deep breath, he admits he'll never forget the true heroes of the old days, determined to turn things around, stating the association needs to be firm and not just chase profits. But he knows everyone there just wants the position, out of pure greed and easy money, feeling the heavy weight of his age and lack of power, while his grandson just chills out, staring at the boy with a bit of jealousy, since he's got the talent the old man never had. Right then an assistant bursts into the room screaming, making the playboy ask what's up, reporting the attack in the slums, making the kid's eyes pop wide open instantly. Totally confused, the president asks if a natural gauge just popped open, out of nowhere sweating bullets. The employee warns that the branch's request for backup got denied, since nobody wants to go fight in that dump, leaving the old man completely pissed off, ordering them to contact the labs, fully determined to handle this mess himself. Jumping right up, the boy says he's tagging along, finally showing a drop of responsibility. Back at the lab, the vibe gets heavy, with the hero staring the target down up close, and then the real chaos finally breaks out in the room, seeing energy threads slicing everything around, and realizing the boss isn't playing games, when a shadow pops up behind the man, shattering his glasses on pure pressure alone, making the villain's body melt into liquid metal on the floor in a highly bizarre way. Peeking at the scene, the guide instantly realizes that goo is a disguised chimera, screaming in shock seeing the director himself turn into a bubbling monster, with the staff hitting pure panic mode, totally lost about that bizarre scene. But our boy doesn't even blink, warning that the real brawl is starting right now. Taking shape again, the enemy roars, saying he won't forgive this whole invasion, gathering energy in his hands to send everyone to the afterlife on pure hatred, and the hero even mocks him, dropping a comment about that super warm welcome. Dodging easily, he notes the metal matches Nari's, but the aura is completely different, connecting the dots that the psycho ran experiments on his own body to turn into that, watching everything from a distance. The little ghost pet tracks the boss's moves, while the sidekick handles the goons. The hero hacks straight into the scientist's memories, diving deep into the guy's rotten flashbacks to figure out what was really going on there. A flashback hit showing the young villain operating on a kid in a filthy lab, revealing his envy of his old mentor, and swearing to do whatever it takes to surpass him. Back in the present, our hero goes blind with rage and slams his hand on the floor in pure fury, rocking claws and a red aura. He calls the guy out for kidnapping kids for tests, catching a mock from the villain, who calls the victims trash. That just got a lucky break, losing his patience completely, and slamming his hand on the floor with absurd force, with the monster trying to turn liquid to escape. But the hero's grip is absolutely crushing. With his eyes glowing blue, he tells the scientist to shut his mouth and feel the pain, leading one of the goons, completely shell-shocked by that overwhelming energy, flooding the room, and the punishment kicks in right away, with the director screaming with zero way to escape, getting his body twisted and squeezed just like a cheap, old dirty rag, getting sucked down into a tiny point by the boy's completely cracked power, until in the blink of an eye, the big guy turns into just a floating sphere of light, kneeling on the ground and controlling the glowing little ball with his relentless blue aura, with Bangsu terrified from afar, unable to believe the guy just turned into a literal marble, grabbing the sphere in his hands, turning the villain into a basic inventory item, staring the others down and warning he wants answers, or everybody turns into a toy, digging deeper into the memories, finding out the mentor stole the research and bailed, disgusted by human greed, since the guy did all that just to get his youth back, remembering little Nari's dumb tracker, and getting ready to crush it right there. Right then the bald guy and the giant bird give the crew a nice little push to spill the beans, focusing on the leftover test subjects, and finding out the real lab is hidden underground. Wasting zero time, the squad heads down, breaking everything on pure brute force, running straight into a horror scene, packed with tanks full of bizarre creatures, making the little ghost sickened by the cruelty of storing kids like basic data files. But our point antagonist stays completely quiet, just observing the creepy room, triggering a tense flashback from his own past, strapped to a structure under a blinding light. The doctors debating if they should slice open and dissect test subject No. 17, deciding to keep him alive, to cash in by faking him as a natural. Awakened Hunter back in the present, the boy touches the glass, saying everyone there deserves to rest, popping the tank locks all at once, making a bright light shine across the room, causing a little fox to jump out of the water spooked, claiming it recognized that scent, surprising our hero, since Nari had never mentioned the little beast, could talk mascot jokes about the fox's smell, but the boss clarifies it's just his bath soap. In total shock, the little animal asks if he really found its old machine friend. He confirms she's doing just fine in the demonic realm, making the little beast wag its tail, crying tears of joy over the news. The hero realizes she was Nari's absolute best friend. He asks if there's anyone else around, and the little fox yells for the rest of the crew to come out. Stepping out of the shadows, bizarre creatures like a walking tree and a giant ant show up, even some chubby squirrels appear, making the furball ask what kind of zoo this is. Right then the fox explains that the fighting monsters already got wiped out, leaving only them behind. Looking closely, our hero notices every single one of them originally came from the demon realm. Flexing his blue aura, he invites the whole gang to head over there, leaving everyone completely stunned. And just like that, everything changed. The entire lab goes up in a massive explosion, wiped clean off the map. Watching from a distance, the president's grandson finds it super weird that the attack hit that specific building, until he spots the giant bird flying out of the smoke, and screams in panic for his grandpa to look, refusing to believe his eyes, when he sees some crazy guy using that flying beast like a personal Uber. Celebrating the rescue, the guy boy announces he hid the scientists in a secure spot. He questions about the memory-wiping pills though, hearing from the boss that he didn't give them a single dose, leaving the kid completely lost, with that unexpected answer pointing down below. The bald guy quickly recognizes the association, president and his grandson. Staring at the sky, the old man gets deeply shocked, seeing the kid riding that massive beast. Digging through his memories, our protagonist realizes that name sounds pretty familiar. Suddenly it clicks, remembering perfectly who that older gentleman down there was. Flashing a smirk under the mask, he grabs the director's marble to send down a little gift. He throws the item with full force, making the guide scream in pure despair, dropping like a literal meteor right toward the exact spot where the duel was standing. Except the geezer proves he has plenty of reflexes, catching the sphere midair with zero effort. With his grandson spooked, the president mutters that he never thought he would see that again, explaining it's a sealing technique that only breaks with a power greater than its creators. Arriving at the scene, the hunters report that nobody met their maker in the building explosion. They also mentioned the researchers themselves snitched on the director for being a monster, revealing that the invader himself saved everyone, leaving the old man scratching his head. Looking up at the sky, he gets lost in thought, wondering if that child from the past could still be alive. Touching down back in the slums, the furball cheers that he gets to meet the guy handling their mess. However, the boss prefers to keep things low-key, knowing things will get messy if the association hunts them down. Cutting to the slum branch, we see the alchemist snoring loudly right in the middle of his shift, waking up spooked by a loud bang at the door, wondering what all that racket was about. Getting up looking a bit rough, he heads to the entrance to peek at what's going down, coming face to face with the guy squished against the glass, dropping a super casual hello, making such a massive scare that the man lets out a scream, loud enough to shatter the stretch windows. Promptly, our protagonist gives the kid a proper scolding for scaring the poor guy like that. Taking off the mask, he tells the manager to chill, and the chubby guy recognizes the boy instantly, flashing a shady smile. He warns him he came to pick him up for a trip to the demon realm. Already back in the realm, the winged monster teaches the girls how to build a glowing quartz fence, following a pretty simple setup of drilling the stone and fitting the polished crystal to give off light, making the piece shine bright, which leaves our little cyborg completely mesmerized by the handy trick. Smiling wide, she praises the flying uncle's handiwork. With a ton of excitement, the dark-haired girl stops out of nowhere upon hearing a very familiar sound, spotting a blue portal opening on the grass, quickly announcing that the boss finally returned. Except a whole bunch of bizarre creatures drops out of it, putting everyone on edge, feeling suspicious. The machine girl thinks it's weird the boy would bring back such weak chimeras. Soon enough, the little yellow snake with chicken legs starts marching toward the cabin. Paying close attention, the older girl notices Nari backing away, looking super tense and quiet. Meanwhile, the tiny serpent goes into full defense mode to protect its territory at all costs, letting out a cute little shriek, trying to sound threatening. Without much success, clueless about the situation, the winged big guy asks if the pet is scared of the newbies. The experienced lady gets it right away, though knowing the snake just wants to show who's the real boss, charging full speed at the little tree, trying to assert dominance with those high-pitched squeaks. The living tree completely ignores the snake's tantrum and just walks right past it, dropping a soft kind of sad groan. The wooden creature keeps on its path, heading straight for the backyard garden and throwing itself onto the dirt, claiming that spot. There wasn't much of a garden left though, just a patch of dry hard dirt looking like a desert, when an explosion of blue energy wrecks the ground, ending the piece of the area in a split second, bringing out the 5 mandrakes running the yard, popping up looking cocky and ready for a fight. Right then our hero arrives, riding the birdie, announcing they finally made it home. Glancing around, the chubby alchemist starts stuttering, unable to process that scenery, staring at the massive cabin in his pajamas, blown away that they built a mansion in the middle of nowhere, calculating that the property is worth a fortune, and already looking for the door. Under the boss's gaze, her boy notices little Nari hiding behind a tree, though completely keeping her distance, instantly asking the bald guy and the alchemist to wait quietly in the corner, walking up to the veteran duo and asking if they handled everything while he was gone. He soon asks about the mess going down in the garden between the little tree and the cocky plants, featuring an intense stare-down happening right now between the lead mandrake and the wooden rookie, until the giant jumps into the mix just to add fuel to the fire, glowing its tail bright red, proving it activated defense mode to back up its friend, grabbing the plant right by the root, leaving the protagonist super confused by that tactic, pulling off the perfect move, tossing the little tree into the air. Like a bowling ball, the lead mandrake rides the hype, jumping happily right to the impact zone, resulting in a dead-on collision, right in the grumpy little plant's face, scoring a flawless chimera strike across the grass, in a bizarre domino effect. No one saw that coming. Right where the tree landed, a stylish horned blue monster suddenly pops up, making the mandrakes cheer with pride, while the hero praises their solid teamwork. With the tree carrying the knocked out beast, the boss declares the welcome beef is officially over, leaving just the heavy tension to be resolved between little Nari and the fox. Walking calmly, the little fox stops out of nowhere and starts sniffing the trunk of the big tree, revealing through its expression that it perfectly recognized the familiar scent, hiding right there, finding the shrinking cyborg and calling her machine creature in a deeply sad tone. Crying heavily, the girl begs for forgiveness, saying she only leave that spot when she gets accepted, turning her back to do penance, fully ready to wait however long it takes, bringing up a heavy flashback from the lab, showing the scientist pissed off at his new living weapon, displaying the little one in her robotic form, taking hits from the guards without striking back once. The director complains that she was way too gentle and completely useless for fighting like that, calling the girl trash, warning she'd be scrapped if she kept playing the nice guy, deciding that if having feelings was the issue, they would just rewire the poor kid's brain, cooking up a cruel plan to throw other monsters in the same locked cell as her, placing cute time mirrors near the girl, expecting her to bond and get super attached to them, just to force those new friends to attack the poor thing in the cruelest way possible. The evil deed goes down as the fox loses control and attacks the robot with zero mercy, but the beast was striking her while crying in despair, while the villain celebrated the pain of betrayal, leaving the machine broken and tossed on the floor, hearing from the man that friends don't exist in there, giving her an ultimatum to wipe out the monsters, or she get melted down on the spot. This flips a switch in her head, triggering her rage, and making her charge right at the doctor, grabbing the mad scientist by the throat, in pure confusion, asking if they were supposed to be friends. She chooses to escape that hellhole, so she wouldn't hurt her own friends, making the old man panic, firing up the thrusters and smashing straight through the glass wall to get out of there fast. Snapping back to the present, the kid's guilty tears dropped onto the grass of the demon realm, sobbing nonstop with her back turned to the fox, feeling like the absolute worst creature in the world. Completely shocked, the little fox gets teary-eyed, without understanding a thing, jumping into Nari's lap full of longing, making the girl cry while still feeling super confused. She vents through the tears, saying how much she missed everyone. With a rock-solid promise, she swears never to leave that crew again. Noticing her real form, the MC plays dumb just to keep the cute vibe going. Soon enough, Bongsu sees Uncle Sparrow and his sister arriving. Hyped that they made up, the MC give everyone the green light, explaining he just didn't want to spook Nari earlier. Here he is. Uncle Sparrow points at Manager Kim, asking who the guy in pajamas is. Looking fun. He even jokes that the little outfit looks pretty comfy. To clear things up, our hero reveals the guy is an alchemist, and will break the curse. Hearing that, the siblings are left completely stunned, but their eyes are full of hope. Manager Kim steps up to introduce himself, sweating bullets and dying of embarrassment. Showing off his nerve, he flat out asks to pluck a few feathers from Uncle Sparrow. He quickly notices their faces, and asks if that would be an issue. The big monster replies straight up, saying it's just kind of embarrassing to ask that. Out of nowhere right then, a flashback shows two girls gossiping about the giant bird, causing chaos in the city. We see Bongs with a mysterious blonde, who ends up handing something over to him, mentioning that nothing beats roasted potatoes. She makes the kid super happy. He blows on the piping hot food, showing he is absolutely starving. About the warm snack, he hears the woman tell him to eat as much as he wants. Realizing he's the only one eating, the boy gets shy, but the lady says she already had dinner. Her touch on his forehead makes him blush, and he claims it's just exhaustion from training. Complaining about having chills for 10 days, he hears that it sounds a lot like an awakening. The blonde points out that since he's 17, awakenings usually happen around that time. Chuckling in disbelief, he catches a scolding, because an awakening doesn't care where you come from. Feels pretty down and asks her not to get his hopes up, but then she hands him some cash. Freezing on the spot, the kid can't believe his eyes when he sees a 50,000 bill in his hand. She warns him it's his ticket to the association, telling him to go take the test right away. Holding a picture of a silver-haired man, she says he can still become a badass hunter. Almost crying from emotion, he thanks her from the bottom of his heart, and calls her ma'am, freaking out over the nickname. She begs him to stop, but the boy jokes around and promises to pay her back. Back in the demon realm, we see the flyer's sister, polishing a massive quartz crystal. Full of curiosity, the little fox, the tree and the ant touch the glowing stone. The squirrels are completely hypnotized, unable to take their eyes off that magic rock, with crystal stakes all over the place. The spot actually looks like an amusement park. Super chill Uncle Sparrow mentions that grinding at night is super easy for him. Looking at the bald guy sweating buckets, the big monster doesn't get why he hasn't left yet. Despair hits the older dude and he begs, saying he just wants to help the squad out. Meanwhile, the kid tells the MC he forgot to mention something super serious to the alchemist catching a ride back. The hyped kid blurted out that it's all about living in the moment. Our hero brushes off all that excitement, just telling him to do whatever comes to mind. Turning to Nori and the little pets, that the boss keeps it real, saying everyone needs to pitch in. Deep in thought, the monster likes having a role, but wonders if the boss is doing okay. Seeing the boss head out with the stakes, Nori asks about it and he says he's lining up the fence. He asks if she made peace with everyone, making her stutter super nervous yes. Crying into this whole coconut tribe thing, he leaves the little girl. Terrified of the truth, she throws in the towel, finally confessing that she was never actually part of that tribe. Using a really calm tone, the MC promises Nari that nobody will ever come after her here. He shows off the work, explaining that the stakes form a massive protective barrier, pitching a genius idea. He suggests they just become the new coconut tribe themselves. The hero flashes a pure smile, saying the family grew, and the name actually fits perfectly. Breaking down in tears, the little girl gets super emotional, repeating the name of her new family. She thanks him with all her heart. Then, the boss tells her it's time to head back to the group. Running back all happy, she shouts that they returned, and are now the glorious coconut tribe. The big monster notices the good vibes, and gives some praise, while Bamsu stands there feeling kind of down. Full of pride, the boy announces the fence is done, and Nari thinks the whole thing looks stunning. But suddenly a sinister gust of wind hits hard, proving something massive is on its way. Taking a huge scare, Nari looks around and asks where the beast went. Our hero laughs at the whole mess, dropping a line about kids growing up through fighting. Changing his expression, he feels a weird presence and gets dead serious. Out of nowhere, the whole crew looks up quickly, spotting the giant blue bird tearing through the sky. Taking a quick dive, the bird rubs against the MC, just like a super needy kitten. Gets insanely shocked, even yelling, when he notices the beast's tail feather actually grew back. Approaching quietly, The alchemist mentions a quick treatment, which the hero finds suspicious. The guy reveals his trick, explaining he used red moss to multiply the healing effect, explaining that the duo helped out on the mission. The big guy even caused the healing appear. A miracle, and that's where it gets crazy. The bald guy's brilliant mind instantly starts plotting. Right then and there, acting shameless. He leans in and whispers, asking if the alchemist has a cure for baldness. He opens his heart, confessing he spent 10 long years hunting down some kind of cure. Super height, the alchemist calls that the ultimate dream of his profession, and promises to help him out. Crying tears of joy, the bald guy drops to his feet and swears to become his loyal servant if needed. The big monster watches this bizarre scene as the alchemist goes back to talking about the curses, explaining the issue. The chubby guy warns that it's an ancient formation and a real pain to break. After thinking for a second, the MC points out that a mandrake fruit would easily fix the whole thing. Taking a massive scare, the professional's jaw drops at the mention of that rare fruit. Our boy stays completely calm, mentioning that their local plants are already close to blooming. Pointing at the garden, the alchemist almost loses his mind, spotting a patch full of mandrakes. He brings up the infinite cycle, where the beast absorbs energy, grows the fruit, and eats it right away, warning that plucking it by force turns it to poison, so the creature actually has to hand it over willingly. To help out, the MC suggests adding some rocks, since they absolutely love caves during this phase. Pulling out a little notepad, the alchemist wonders how the kid even knows all this stuff. He flashes a nostalgic smile, revealing his memories came back, and he actually has history with them. Going back in time, we see the kid MC as Subject 17, stranded in the freezing snow. The kid is freezing during the survival training, so he decides to force his way up the peak, walking with serious effort. He ends up hearing a weird noise and stops on the spot. He brushes aside some ice-covered branches, noticing something hiding right there. Getting closer, he finds a beat-up mandrake, collapsed right in the middle of the snow. A wave of pity hits him and he slowly reaches out to try and help the little creature. But out of nowhere, multiple red eyes glow in the bushes, showing she isn't alone. Jumping from the brush, a whole squad of pissed-off mandrakes charges straight at the kid. This is where it gets good. The wounded one forces herself up and starts yelling at her own family, shocking the boy, limping hard and dragging herself to the snow. The cute little plant was on the verge of collapsing. Feisty Root was panting heavily from the effort, already close to passing out in the cold. Watching this crazy protective scene, the boy gets super confused, thinking he is losing his mind. He feels bad about the little creature's attitude, and his icy heart quickly starts to melt. Stepping closer, he releases some gentle mana to calm the root, which still looks at him with suspicion. The kid tries to drill into his head that it's just a monster, but he can't resist that sad little face feeling right there. The boy's warm mana ends up putting the little creature into a deep sleep. He watches the little plant knock out, seriously debating if he should take care of her for a few days. Scooping her up in his arms, the young boss continues his tough trek through the snowy forest. Jumping into the box, the little creature throws a massive party. Cheering with joy, the MC quickly finds a perfect cave to escape that heavy blizzard. But here's a twist. The place is already packed with wild mandrakes. After lighting a campfire, he watches the rescue little root run over to make friends. Our guy just hydrates in pure survival mode, while the little beast celebrates, creeping closer with curiosity. The tiny plant gives off this unique glow, realizes it's thirsty, so the MC gently offers up some water. By pouring the liquid on the ground, he makes sure his newest friend stays hydrated. She's shaking with excitement and splashing around, until he tells her to chill out, laughing at his little dance. The boy notices the creature's eyes go wide. Out of nowhere, jumps back and drops a leaf on the floor, leaving the boss completely clueless. And that's where it gets crazy. A blue flash fills the cave, catching our guy off guard. The little creature is pushing super hard, focusing everything it has on the ground. Out of nowhere, a red fruit sprouts up, and the boy has no idea where it came from, offering the snack with pure pride. She makes the MC a bit suspicious right away. He decides to risk it, trusting his own resistance. And that innocent little face takes a huge bite and feels a blast of sweet, refreshing flavor. Pure mana floods his body, leaving him completely stunned by the effect. Peeking into the back of the cave, he spots some really weird movement going on, with its whole body twisting. The little plant is struggling hard against the floor. Soon enough, another fruit pops up in the dark, proving the supply isn't stopping anytime soon. Then 5 more fruits show up at once, and all that abundance actually freaks. The boy outsprouts another 6 right after that, and panic really starts setting in for our boss. She's heavily panting but keeps offering them up, leaving him speechless at her dedication. Getting the message, he realizes the creature is pushing its limits, just to return the favor out of pure pity. He thanks her for the kindness, and begs the poor thing to stop. The creature then eats its own fruit, showing the boy there aren't any seeds. Figures out the species' crazy life cycle, realizing they are completely self-sufficient. Suddenly feeling guilty, The MC thinks he might have stolen her growth mana. Jumping off the guy's lap, the tiny creature dashed right over to the campfire. Just wants a safe spot using him as a pillow, before passing out with a loud snore. With a faint smile he mutters that he definitely won't be getting bored around here. But the piece ends real quick when these ice-horned gorillas show up for an ambush. Those massive apes were craving the fruits, looking to feast on all that pure energy, pulling the sleeping plant close. The boss vows to protect his new friend at all costs, transforms his own hand and stares down the beasts, dead serious about keeping her safe. For the next few days, the duo braves the snowstorm together, with her riding on his head. He wipes the floor with them, activating his monster mode to crush any threats. Right after every heavy hunt, he always spawns a little mana fruit for his pet, keeping her belly full and happy. Their bond levels up in a massive way. Flashes a genuine smile finally, realizing he's getting seriously attached to the little guy. After 10 long days the sun comes up, and it's the rough moment to head back to hell. The tiny root gets super sad about him leaving, rubbing against his leg non-stop. Understanding that exact pain, he remembers his own loneliness. Seeing the creature act like this, he knows the danger out here. Realizing the poor thing will be wide open, all by itself, but there's no other choice. The curse on his body would take him out if he's late. Can't take her with him or she become a lab rat. So he promises to leave an epic gift. By setting up silkworm webs at the entrance, he guarantees the place has some solid defense. Kneeling on the freezing ground, he perks one final surprise for his friend. He ties a small cord around the creature, warning her not to lose it no matter what. The little thing jumps with pure joy, rubbing against the cord and feeling super loved, gives his final goodbye, leaving the little plant in a state of shock and pure panic chasing after the guy through the snow. The tiny creature screams its lungs out in agony. After tripping hard and face-planting in the snow, she struggles with the harsh goodbye. He turns his back so he doesn't cry, staying strong and telling her to stay safe. The little root just lies there, feeling guilty for not protecting its friend, and looking completely crushed, breaking down into a heartbreaking cry. The sound echoes all across the massive mountain. They hear this story and bongs, along with the bald dude, start bawling like two emotional kids, but annoyed by the sudden pause. The big guy demands to know what happened. After that sad part our MC gets real serious, explaining he managed to return to the spot 2 weeks later, finding a super sketchy scene. The cave had completely caved in, and the mandrake was gone. Heavy guilt weighs on his chest, as he quietly whispers a sincere apology, struggles to accept that she was either taken or eaten. The boss just can't believe it, but then the familiar gets an idea, remembering the magic cord and betting she survived, holding on to that hope with everything he's got. Uncle Sparrow keeps rooting for the little plant, with a kind of sad smile. The kid promises they're gonna head back there one day. That leaves a big question mark in the air about the cute creatures surviving out in those lands. Cut back to the present, and this army of tiny plants is causing a massive scene, and no one saw that coming. We spot the giant leader with the scar and the cord, proving it's her from the past. The ally is completely blown away, realizing she survived all alone in the demon realm, joking about how much he really likes roots. His buddy leaves the boss feeling totally awkward, since they're hungry. The MC tells the squad to release a little bit of mana. He drops a very clear warning though, pointing out these are built different from normal ones. Way too hyped and curious, the partner says he wants to see the difference. First hand flexes his mana with pure confidence, which instantly makes the boss super sketched out. The secret is he actually transplanted mandrake cells straight into his own body, calling the little guys vacuum cleaners. The root glows, getting ready to drain his very soul. In a state of pure panic, the old dude feels his mana getting forcefully ripped away. He explains the real issue, saying they're starving for his massive amounts of energy, turned into an absolute husk. The poor guy just can't believe this is actually happening, just showing a face of total defeat, as all his energy completely goes down the drain. As the alchemist face plants hard on the ground, the weird mascot runs over in a panic, shaking the knocked out body. The tiny creature starts acting out this massive soap opera drama. It's such a humiliating defeat, and pretty much the end of a line for a rank. An alchemist notices the mandrake's actually throwing up, and the girl realizes his mana tasted like hot garbage. Over in a fancy office, a shady voice starts questioning the attack on the lab. She's furious, yelling about how she invested heavy cash just for everything to turn to scrap. Applying some serious pressure, they demand to know how he's gonna pay for all the damage. Sweet is sweating bullets, warning them the association already launched a serious investigation. Leaves the big shot in glasses, super worried about all the rumors leaking to the press. With a smug attitude, one of the scumbags mocks them for being scared of a powerless old man. He gets really ticked off, asking if anything he just said was a lie. Meanwhile, the corrupt politician is just quietly watching this entire argument play out. Opening his yellow eyes with a wicked smirk, he promises that everything is under control, rambles about anomalies, claiming that dealing with shady setbacks is just part of the game. The politician flashes a brand new stack of cash, telling everyone in the room to just chill. And just like that, everything changes. He pulls out a map, showing a massive mandrake habitat on a snowy peak. Full of doubt, the suit asks, what kind of maniac could even make it to that summit? He explains the hustle, saying they only need to recruit folks who can survive. Halfway up, missing the point entirely. The mustache guy doesn't even get the habitat scheme at all, takes it a step further, saying with this item they'll create their own portals, without relying on anyone. Cutting to an office, a young guy shows up, looking super helpful at the front desk, flashing this awkward smile. He scratches the back of his neck, kind of lost in the situation. Meanwhile, far away from all that, a group stares down a massive wasteland of snow. Everyone bundled up heavy, marching in a line right through the ice. Right then our hooded MC feels a shift, and his eyes glow a bright blue, startling two of his teammates, who immediately ask what's going on, but without saying a word, he just walks off to check things out by himself. Back in the room, the suit in white clenches his fist, completely confident their plan is gonna win out. On the ice, the leader with the man bun loses his patience and tells the kid to stop, warning him about the danger. Grabbing his shoulder, a masked dude begs him to chill out, so they don't do anything stupid, except the MC just grips his hood tight, already dead set on moving forward. Stepping right in front of everyone, he reaches out and drops a green aura to freeze the crew in their tracks. Bleeding from his face with yellow eyes, the kid screams, unleashing a huge blast of power. Slicing through the frozen landscape, the energy heads straight for an invisible target, and the impact reveals a small group of creatures that were hiding. Right there, bunch of mandrakes pop up, bouncing around, way too curious about that attack. Surrounding the explorers, they start jumping everywhere, having no clue what's happening, but the ever takes a toll. The MC's nose bleeds and his eyes completely lose focus. Pushed to the limit, he passes out and face plants in the snow, making the crew rush over to help. Sensing the danger, the man bun leader readies a skill, creating two orange spheres, throwing his power at the mandrakes, who just stand there staring, completely clueless. Right then, a massive energy net appears, and crashes down hard on the little beasts, and almost all of them to the ground, leaving the creatures panicking with no way out, except one of them sitting on top of a rock, manages to escape by a hair, rocking a star scar on her forehead. She immediately takes up a boss stance, climbing the rock. The tiny thing barks orders, and the squad listens like she's a general. Soon enough, the trapped ones start gnawing at the magic net, trying to force an escape. Jumping on the backs of the others, the leader helps you through the threads, with intense focus, making the net guy scream in frustration. Seeing his attack get dismantled by these tiny plants, a huge brute draws his weapon and charges in, while his partner tries to recast the skill. Arm bulging with strength, the big guy gets ready to crush the mandrakes, bringing the blade down hard, but the impact just shatters the rest of the barrier. Taking advantage of the gap, the little creatures scatter everywhere in a panic. Sweating bullets, the leader looks back, but she's not giving up easily. Raising his weapon again, the brute gets ready to finish off their boss, letting out a battle cry. He swings the blade down with no mercy, right at the little beast. And that's where it gets crazy. The MC appears and stops the strike one-handed, sending out a loose shockwave. The clash is so powerful it cracks the ground, leaving the whole team with their jaws on the floor, standing still in the middle of the dust, with the enemy's weapon buried right next to him, eyes glowing gold. He stares down the group with a dead serious glare. A massive shadow full of yellow eyes rises behind him, creating an unreal amount of pressure, dropping such a heavy aura that the entire squad collapses to the ground, shaking with terror. Turning his head, our guy looks at the tiny mandrake he just saved. Eyes watering, she looks back at him with massive gratitude. High up in the sky, the flying masked girl watches everything, realizing the MC is built different. Finding it weird, the eagle dude asks if she's sure, since he's never seen anything like it. Inside an all-white space, the kid stands there facing the tiny plant, alone on the ground, shaking like crazy. She's torn between being nervous and super hyped. Back in the snow, he crouches in front of the mandrake, who watches him with pure curiosity, flashing a gentle smile. The little beast seems to figure out right away he's one of the good guys. Crying tears of joy, she jumps right onto him, glowing with happiness, holding the cute little thing in his arms so carefully. She just eats up the affection, snuggling into the boy's arms, looking all shy and happy to be alive. Glancing over at the rest of the pack, the other mandraks follow every single move. Suddenly the leader decides to rip off a piece of his shirt collar, jumping down right after, carrying that cloth trophy along. With her scrapping hand, she stares down her own people with a super determined face, hyping up the rest of the crew, who start bouncing ready to follow their boss. Vibrating hard, the leaf on the tiny leader's head starts growing at a wild pace. Sweating from the sheer effort, her little body shakes entirely. In the middle of a transformation, a much larger shadow appears in the background, making it obvious she's getting a major glow-up. Wrapping up the process, the creature is now rocking some leaf-made sandals. Just watching the scene unfold, the MC sees the newly upgraded leader, taking charge of the pack. Watching from above, the winged creatures see the little plants gathered up in front of him. Sporting a smirk, the kid tells Eagle Dude to chill out, saying they're just mandrakes. Soon the evolved leader lets out a shout, sounding like a general hyping up for war. Right after that, a hunter from the group throws himself on the ground, bowing to the MC super awkward, going wide-eyed. Our guy has zero clue what that behavior is all about. Keeping his forehead buried in the snow, the hunter shows total submission, crouching down to help. The masked girl points out the guy. Looks like he hit his limit, but the second the MC grabs the guy, he gets shocked by his condition. All bruised and panting, this dark purple energy starts pouring out of his body. Watching closely, the masked girl tries to figure out what the heck is going on, until a weird mark on the injured guy's arm glows with that same purple light. Laying his ally down gently, the MC notices the guy's body is already ice cold, and just like that everything changed. His eye flashes orange, figuring out what happened, and he gets absolutely furious. Standing up, he glares at the fallen hunters to partners, who are shivering in fear. Grinding his teeth in pure rage, one of the brutes can't handle that heavy pressure. The MC's eyes turn red, and a sinister aura unleashes some massive bloodlust. Flashing a cocky smile, the brute dares him to make a move. Such a clown in the blink of an eye. Our guy slams one explorer's head right into the rocks, dropping a heavy stomp right after. He cracks the ground, and sends everyone flying from the shockwave, making a hooded goon panic as he sees the energy coming straight to slice him up. Breathing out cold air, the MC keeps up that freezing, lethal glare, the last to standing, shake like crazy under that overwhelming pressure. Eye glowing brightly, he watches the survivors in dead silence. From a distance, the mandrakes just watch quietly, not getting the beef at all. After a bit, he sits near his ally's body, with the tiny plant resting on his head. Staying silent, he stares off into the horizon, looking dead serious, flashing back to the day he met the kid who called out to him super hyped on the street. Back then, our MC was actually surprised by the boy's energy, smiling and giving a thumbs up. He was just overflowing with confidence. But the memory fades and the hunter's final breath starts echoing in his mind again, locking in his gaze. He throws on an expression of pure determination. Right then, the alchemist in pajamas comes flying in, grabbed by the winged woman, screaming his lungs out, getting tossed to the ground. The healer goes rolling through the snow, scared out of his mind, sliding face first into the ice, stopping right at our boy's feet, lifting his head all dizzy. He tries to process where he just landed. Wasting no time, the healer casts a bright green spell on the injured kid's body. Sweating bullets, he sadly realizes the healing spell isn't doing a single thing. Grinding his teeth, the MC gets massively frustrated with the result. Hand on his chin, he thinks fast, trying to find a way out of this mess. Right then, the healer gets a massive shock, his eyes going wide. Our MC starts drawing a giant magic circle right in the snow with his finger, leaving the chubby dude completely speechless at the brutal perfection of the design. Recognizing the pattern from an ancient book, he spots that red glow of forbidden magic. Glancing at the scattered bodies, the winged duo realizes the kid is way more dangerous. And that's where it gets crazy. The healer freaks out, asking how he knows resurrection magic, since it costs a soul. But the MC just flashes a confident smirk, knowing exactly what he's doing. Flashing back to his time in the secret facility, he was living surrounded by scientists, strapped to a chair and completely beaten down. He glared at the guys with pure defiance, smiling in a sinister way. He bragged about being immortal and taking any hit. Right after that, the whole building blows up, sending people flying everywhere. Turns out that exact same red circle was the trick he used to escape that nightmare. Back on the ice, our guy takes off his shirt, looking super shredded, and preps for the ritual. Taking off his shirt, our boy lets everyone know he's ready to start. Right then, Kim sits in a magic circle behind him and kicks off the extraction. The mystic seal glows bright the second he touches the guy's back, focused. The manager takes a deep breath to save Bonsu and help our MC without hesitating. The researcher pushes all his mana to make this thing work, and would you look at that, the energy takes physical form right on his back. He's pumped, sharing that. Now they just gotta transfer it all to the newbie. Out of nowhere, the alchemist starts getting bodied by something unseen. Our MC turns around and sees the mandrakes going all out on the dude. Panicking, Kim tries to calm the creatures down, saying it's a huge misunderstanding. With all this chaos, the kid actually considers sending the little guys home, giving the medicine to his sick buddy over on the rock. Bonsu stays knocked out while the ritual keeps going. Bit by bit, that dark mark on his arm starts to fade away. His breathing lightens up, and finally goes back to a normal rhythm. Crying his eyes out, the manager yells that it worked and thanks the boy. Later on, our protagonist talks about how ironic fate can be. To him, The way life twists and turns is honestly pretty funny. Kim promises he'll handle the care and meds for the young hunter. Turns out this magic circle is banned for being way too dangerous. Because of that, our MC says he's gonna wipe the manager's memories, and that's where it gets crazy. Those arrogant hunters are getting drained too. Dropping down to rank T, they still manage to dip through the gate just fine. Confused, the bird leader asks if they're really getting let go like that. Even the manager suggests it'd be safer to wipe those guys' minds. Keeping his cool, the kid refuses and says they're gonna remember everything. All this humiliation is needed to see if they stop acting like clowns. On the ground, the scumbags hear this, sweating cold out of pure fear. Chill as ever, the birdman accepts the call without complaining, but sending the crew away just like that feels like a massive waste. A brilliant idea pops right into our boy's head. He orders the hunters to build a lab right there. In the snow, Kim almost has a heart attack from pure joy about this new research spot. Fired up, the alchemist starts prepping things right on the spot. The ally keeps an eye on the newbies and asks where the kid is heading. Stuffing his hands in his pockets, he gets ready to bounce. One grabs the sleeping mandrake and says he's taking the little guy up high. He cuts through the freezing sky with full force. Heavy claws land hard, right in the middle of the soft snow. Asking the big beast to wait, he suddenly notices the little one crying. In no rush, the MC kneels down and unzips his travel bag. On the ground, a bunch of cute, smiling faces start peeking out from inside. Bursting with joy, the little sprouts jump and run all over the ice. He smiles, knowing there's no place in the world like home. Holding little Dodic, they just stare at each other in a farewell vibe. For him, this is the exact moment they both gotta go their separate ways. Being a true monarch, the MC knows he can't be selfish and hold the pet back, so he comforts his tiny buddy, promising he'll always come visit. Dodic gets the message and finally lets out a sigh of relief. But out of nowhere, the little plant just walks off, leaving him beyond confused. Turning around, Dodic calls out, and the kid quickly gets the hint to follow. Curious, he trails behind and spots them, heading the opposite way of the plant habitat. At the entrance of a dark cave, our protagonist recognizes the spot instantly. Stepping inside, the vibe strongly reminds him of that hideout they checked out before. Only thing is, it's super clean with marks on the ground, showing the pet comes here a lot. Little Sprout points to a crack, and Duan asks if that was his farm. Blown away, he asks if the little guy found this all by himself, and gets an excited nod. This leaves our boy deep in thought for a few seconds. Right then, a bunch of mandrakes pop out of nowhere, definitely looking for their boss. A mustached elder calls out for the chief, his voice shaking with emotion. Without missing a beat, Dodic turns and waves goodbye to the old guy, who looks super sad silent. The veteran just watches his leader walk away. Like that, and just like that, everything changed. The little guy takes off the string, showing his rank. He hands the badge straight to the elder, who almost falls over from the shock, shaking hard. The old pet just can't believe the younger one's move. The huge smile, the tiny monarch simply confirms his choice. Our MC is stunned, trying to process if he really just passed the crown down. Worried, he asks if the pet is dead serious, and if he did this just to stay with him. Crying tears of joy, the little buddy makes it clear that everything is cool. After that, night falls over the camp, bringing some very light snow. Sitting by the campfire, the protagonist enjoys that nice cozy heat. He looks over, reflecting that everyone picks their own place in the world. Right there, the tiny creature sleeps, curled up super peaceful in the middle of the ice. For him, all that really matters is seeing his new partner living his best life. Meanwhile, down on a cold ground, Bomsu starts waking up from his blackout. The newbie wakes up completely lost, trying to figure out where he ended up. Paying close attention, the bird leader watches, impressed by this fast recovery in one jump. The kid sits up and lets out a scream when he faces a giant monster. Terrified of the beast, he hears the big guy ask for his name. Making things worse, the masked pops up, welcoming him to the demon realm. Both allies joke that the kid looks like he just saw a weird ghost. After all, almost kicking the bucket so young and bouncing back would break anyone's brain. Flashing back to the past, the office lady praises his awakening. Super hyped, the young guy flies off to tell Mrs. Park the good news, but in the hallway, some hooded weirdo blocks the path and asks who he is. Handing him a drink, the guy acts like a veteran and congratulates the new teleporter. Bonsu even finds it weird getting that mystery can out of thin air. Smooth talking, the scammer lies that it's a monody, and the guy smiles, saying thanks. And no one saw that coming. A massive pain takes over the kid's body. Suffering bad, he realizes an orphan becoming a hunter was just a pipe dream. Grown in the dark, the young guy can only beg Mrs. Park for forgiveness. Back in the present, our boy is flying on the giant bird to that freezing sky. The little mandrake chills on his coat collar, rocking a brand new bow. Dowan stares at the pet hiding there, trying to wrap his head around everything that happened. From up top, he already spots the crew carrying heavy logs in the snow. Landing fast, he runs over to chat with his bird ally. The kid immediately wants to know if draining the energy from those bums is done. Wasting no time, the guy explains he put them to work on construction, so they wouldn't slack off. He points to the side showing the prisoners sweating bullets to gather the wood. There's even a squad already setting up the base for the manager's newest lab. Smiling with relief, the kid enjoys the peace, but his ally mentions they use a little force. Yeah, taught those newbies a harsh lesson. Earlier she even sat on the guys complaining. In a flashback, one of them freaks out, questioning the drain, just because of one kid's close call. He yells that it took 20 years to reach rank A, just trying to make some cash, and the bird boss just ignores the tantrum, calling the next in line with his arms crossed. These guys think about fighting back in the snow, but taking on disaster-level monsters is crazy. One even tries to say the rank A guys could win, only to get mercilessly crushed. Massive in her beast form, the big girl steps on the jerk, asking if they were gonna try. Back in the present, the ally warns she needs to chill. Kim stays completely quiet after the slap. Giant Wings, the beast, warns she forgives a lot, except anyone hurting a kid. She tells them to choose between losing their mana or something worse. Terrified, one agrees instantly. Yelling at the scrubs, she lays down the law. D1 actually finds the whole vibe scary. Soon, the boss mentions the construction will finish fast. Boy agrees since they built well. At that moment, the manager confirms he dumped the mana, like they planned, earning major props. Worried, the kid asks about the newbie. Kim says he woke up fine, but he's in shock. When they suggest a visit, the protagonist just takes a deep breath, in complete silence sitting on a rock. Bongsui spots the boy walking up quietly to check if he's doing alright. Polite, the young man says his full name, but the MC prefers just being called Hyan. Right away, our hero notices something way different about the young hunter's look. The newbie's bangs turn pure white. After that terrifying close call, his mana core also grew way too much, something the kid decides to look into later. Then the boy drops that he saved his life, just for him to look like a walking zombie. Looking sad, the young man vents, saying he feels like the biggest failure around, all because Mrs. Park believed in him, and even paid his bus fare so he could shine. Falling for the first scammer he saw, he now cries without any direction in life. Real quiet, Duwan just calls the kid's name, in a much more serious tone. Without delay, he stands up, and tells the newbie to take a walk with him. Around the camp up ahead, that shameless, hooded scammer is mixed in with the construction crew. The crook is already coughing with a hand on his neck, looking rough from the hard labor. And this is where it gets good. The MC smashes the guy into the ground, showing the newbie the culprit. Exposing the scam, he explains. The fraud used puppet magic to trick the poor guy, cold as ice. The boy says he can finish the dude right there, if that's what he wants, clenching his fist. Shaking with anger, he glares at the scammer tossed right on the ground. After thinking it over, he speaks up and says, with pure certainty, that he doesn't want this revenge. He gets that he's alive, the villain lost his powers, and there will always be bad people out there. Now the plan is to level up, so he can prevent anyone else from falling for this kind of trap. Proud of that choice, Dawoon cracks a genuine smile seeing the guys glow up. Then he announces the thug is forgiven, ordering the trash back to the heavy lifting. Turning his back, the kid tells Bonsu to start training mana with manager Kim ASAP. Shocked, the young guy hesitates, but the MC explains he's also from the slums and wants to help his own. Everyone jumps in and offers help, since the whole squad knows how rough the streets can be. Unable to hold back the emotion, the newbie breaks down, crying out of pure gratitude. Kim gives the boy a tight hug, sealing his spot in their crazy family. Chuckling, the boy bets that with good training, this kid will even surpass Jisuk. In a nice surprise, the cute mandrake jumps out of his jacket pocket. All hyped up, the bird ally spots the pet's new ribbon, and the kid explains the whole leadership drama, explaining the new king he pets, the mascot, who's actually gonna live with them for real now. This is the very first time the big beast has seen a monster pass the crown to someone else. Determined, the kid says he's flying to the forest to show the little guy his new home. Keeping it chill, the leader tells him not to worry about them, and sends his best to the base crew. Instantly, Duwan takes off, ripping through the sky with the mascot, catching a ride on his head, watching his savior vanish up high. Bongsu thinks about how much that kid helped him. After, what kind of crazy savior shows up out of nowhere and makes your life so much better? The ally reads his mind and laughs out loud, saying the boss is completely unhinged. That catches the young guy way off guard, leaving his brain even more broken. But G explains he never had anything to lose, which is why he's not scared of danger. Growing up as a test subject, today he just wants peace and to build little houses in the demon dimension far away. The boy lands in a sunny field and finds the crew silence. Pretty weird. Isaac quickly lets out a yell calling for Hume, and the MC just waves, waiting for the updates. Rushing over, Nari cries that he took too long, leaving the kid entirely confused. In total shock, the girl screams that Gucci C dropped off the map completely. Suddenly the mood gets heavy, and he asks the girl to properly explain this whole mess. Sobbing hard, she says she searched everywhere with the crafter, but no sign of the beasts. Earlier she went screaming by the waterfall, looking for the owl, coming back empty-handed. Jisuk, on the other hand, swept the whole forest yelling for Sasa, with zero clues about the missing guy. Dead serious, the MC closes his eyes to pop his max senses and figure out the drama. A full mana sweep tracks every single inch of that map, hunting for clues. His eyes pierce through the thick brush, not letting a single leaf slip by. And surprisingly, there aren't any footprints or signs of invaders in this whole area. Zero weird energy around. He then presses the 2 to find out what changed. Out here looking tense, the crafter blurted out that the little yellow guy picked a fight with the plants and got clowned as usual. The boss just had to leave for him to challenge the new sprout and take the L again, since the beast is super proud. He slept the whole day sulking something. Nari actually backs up out of nowhere. The pieces click and the kid realizes the pet's evolution started flashing back. Goo was flying peacefully, patrolling the skies right above the trees. A weird noise cuts the silence, making the birds stop mid-air right on the spot. Down below, Sasoi is creeping around super suspiciously, not fooling anyone. He figures out the yellow mascot is already up to his usual tricks, hiding in the bushes addicted to mandrake leaves. He pushes his luck with a little sprout that's fast asleep. Looks like the easy target this time is exactly the newbie plant. Once again, with zero mercy, the beast attacks and the poor thing wakes up, letting out a high-pitched scream in the brush. The whole squad wakes up, furious, and stares down the attacker, stepping closer with pure audacity. Watching from afar, Goo admires the kid's dumb bravery, trying to snatch some leaves. But the plants are built different. An angry gang sends him running for his life, furious. The first plant rushes the little yellow guy, without thinking twice, and man, right then Say gets tossed, and takes a downright pathetic beating. On the spot, the little yellow plant gets dumped on the ground, honestly just whining in pain, trying to stand upright. He bumps into an orange flower, and has no clue what's going on. Right then Goo lands, complaining about his stubbornness, since there's plenty of easy greens to eat. Without hesitation, the owl tells him to swallow the flower, cause it packs a ton of strong mystic energy. Glowing, he devours the plant, looking all happy, and Goo actually feels some maternal pride. Yet the joy is short-lived, because the mascot's skin starts getting all deformed. Digging through his memory, the owl realizes instantly that his buddy is forcing an evolution. This process is brutal. If the vibe isn't perfect, the beast is just gonna bite the dust. Worse yet, nobody can step in to help. Otherwise, a bizarre mutation is guaranteed. Reading the signs, the bird already notices the transformation is gonna blow up real quick, since his partner is way too weak. Who decides to drag him to a safe spot in a rush. With the beast in his claws, he tears through the sky, flying toward the family's hideout in pure panic. Arriving there, he sees the place deserted, and screams desperately for the boss, or any kind of backup to their massive bad luck. Neither Sok nor the little girl were there to save the day. Panicking hard, Goo needs to find a warm spot for his little buddy ASAP. The guilt hits deep cause there's no way to explain this to the rest of the crew. Feeling super sad, the bird just wants to know when the boss is coming back to save the day. But time is ticking and he needs to make a move. He then puts the big yellow guy on his head, and decides to handle things himself. Flying fast, the duel heads straight into a dark and super creepy cave back in the present. The panting owl explains the spot is right behind their house. Just remembering the danger and the monsters on the way makes the poor guy shake. Goo leaves the pad on the ground, hoping that corner is safe. Suddenly, a bizarre scream echoes from the stone roof. Out of nowhere, a huge flock of giant bats dives right at them. These beasts tear through the air, completely fired up and ready to strike. Shaking a lot, the bird hugs his buddy and swears to protect him, and no one saw that coming. A massive flash wipes the beasts out instantly. Through the smoke, a familiar shadow mentions he already knew about the hideout. The little duo looks up, practically crying out of relief. Calmly, do, Juan explains. He tracked the magic energy of the two runaways. He knows their auras perfectly, so finding the guys in the woods was a breeze. Checking the little yellow guy's skin, the MC confirms the evolution already started. The boy then asks if the pet wants a more chill spot. For this, quickly, the owl points to a rock deep inside the cave. The vibe there is damp, but since it's cold, the kid decides to warm things up. With a touch of mana, he makes the air super warm, just like a volcanic zone. Curious Goo doubts a baby could handle the shock of this fast change. Calmly, he explains that shedding skin is just about survival. That triggered a raw instinct, since he got tired of getting clowned by the plants. The real question is if the little yellow beast will come out of this way stronger. To be honest, the kid is super anxious to see how this plays out, and just like that, everything changed. A crazy flash swallows the pet whole. Blinking non-stop, the owl can't believe his eyes. 2 seconds later, even our protagonist is left speechless. In the middle of the glow, A bizarre orange flower pops up, shocking everyone. Seisei appears with smooth skin, completely refreshed and singing happily. Nobody understands the grass on his head, but the boss decides to head back to base. Later on, the crew finally steps foot at home. Under a bright blue sky, little girl already runs over, scolding the bird for vanishing without a word. Trying to escape, the beast struggles to explain. He doesn't speak human. As for the cook, he just wants to know about his partner and that weird flower on his head. He decides to play it safe, telling everyone to let the newborn get some sleep. Nezuko already starts whipping up some magic baby food for when the beast wakes up. With a smile, the MC recognizes the noise from the other little plants in the garden. They're feeling super needy, crying cause they missed their owner so much, taking the blame for disappearing. He walks up handing out mana food to the whole squad. Right after that, he pulls out a pot, revealing the family's newest surprise. The cute former leader pops up, rocking a bow on his chest in a super tough look, breathing a sigh of relief. Dawoon is hyped that the squad accepted the newbie without an issue, and since their bond is strong, there is zero fight for the throne. Keeping the peace in the grass, that youngest plant is the one hyping up the buddy's arrival the most. In the middle of the party, the star beast looks right at the MC. The truth is, the clingy little king refuses to leave the boss aside at all. Climbing up to his shoulder, he knocks out right there, forcing the kid to get a fanny pack. Confused Isaac tries to understand the adoption, and the boss talks about their reunion out in the snow. To him, bumping into the mascot again was pure destiny. She suggests the kid should carry the plant everywhere from now on, but when she drops the word head pats, the test subject's brain completely short circuits. Completely stunned, even the giant bird judges the protagonist for being so clueless. The little girl instantly shows exactly how you put a baby to sleep. With some affection, rubbing her heavy hand on the owl, she repeats the word with zero mercy. The poor beast panics, demanding she let go of his head right now. He zones out entirely and decides that Kafune is the perfect name for the new bae. At that moment, the giant bird girl lands on the spot, and the little girl immediately celebrates swiftly. The masked beast asks if the new lab paid off. He turns redder than a tomato, stuttering super hard in front of his crush. With pure respect, he greets the lady, who sweetly calls him chef. Freaking out inside, the guy repeats the nickname 1,000 times. In his own head, his motivation skyrockets, swearing to become the bird woman's official top chef. She breaks the mood, letting them know the snow base is fully ready to go. Seeing this proves that making hunters do forced labor gets results way fast. Logically, the whole squad freaks out, wanting a grand tour of the place. But since the little yellow guy just got reborn, the trip gets pushed to the next day. Dinner turns into a massive party, and the girl already runs to sort out their winter coats. Late at night, a giant full moon lights up the entire camp. Just stays on lookout from a high branch, making sure the whole crew stays safe. Scanning the dark, she spots some weird movement way down in the garden. A mysterious little dot of light starts blinking right in the middle of the mana roots. It's all Sasuke's doing with his flower, flashing like neon in the middle of the night. Instantly, the little sprouts surround the beast, super curious about that light. A second later, his plant pulses so hard it looks like a flashlight. As always, one of the plant crosses its arms, beyond jealous of the little show, but he just ignores the haters, fully focusing on some crazy plan he's cooking up. Widening his eyes, the little yellow guy goes straight for his master play. This turns into a mess when he jumps on the back of a hyped-up sprout. Like a tiny king, he hitches a ride to a brand new hole. The gang just dug out. Seisei gets into the dirt, with only his head sticking out, fully believing he's crushing it. They stand around staring at him with dead, serious funeral faces. Slowly, he mumbles some noises, trying to mimic their roots language. He wants to play the evil genius, plotting to steal all their nutrients. Then the tables turn, and a harsh reaction hits his body with full force. Taking a magic shock, the little guy almost passes out, having zero clue why he failed. In a state of deep shock, the poor guy's flower wilts instantly. Out of pure sadness, the result is some desperate crying over the humiliation of completely blowing it. Far away, the girl laughs at the scene, and the kid tries to decode the mascot's stupidity. Daewon realizes he tried to blend in, but only got a luxury burial from his friends. It actually makes you feel bad. The little beast starts bawling, left behind in the flower bed. Watching this drives Gu crazy, so he tells him to get out of the dirt and drop the drama. So the boss goes over to save the delusional guy, just so everyone can sleep in peace. Morning breaks and the squad arrives at the snowy base, leaving the girl completely speechless. Drooling over the setup, Nari screams that the place is way too cool. In a panic, the crafter doubts his crush actually designed that crazy setup all by herself. The MC praises the pro-level quality of the giant building that became the lab next to the bird leader. The MC flexes his builds, and the guy agrees it looks top tier. Right then, Kim shows up with gear from the human world, sparking new ideas for the boss. The manager asks about bongs, and the kid mentions he's already safe, practicing mana over there. Satisfied with that, Do-Won cracks a smile and says it's time to make a real move. Looking at those scrubs shivering in the snow, he figures they can finally send the crew back quickly. He orders the alchemist to cast a silent spell on them and take all the heat. The magic triggers if they even think about talking. But Jesse gets completely shocked by the idea. To the crafter, that ancient charm is super easy to break, but the MC guarantees it's fatal. Doubting it, the cook questions him. Keeping it chill, the kid drops his aura and says yes far away. Some dude tells President Go that a bunch of rank A hunters dropped back to rank D. A politician throws a massive fit, demanding why they can't just break such a simple spell. Under pressure, the association leader listens to the suit's rant. While sweating cold, he then reminds the politician about the exact same case that went down 57 years ago. Someone sealed it with pure mana, making it impossible to crack, and the suit remembers holding an orb. The boss suspects Yunsu is to blame, using some ancient technique, even thinking it's pure nonsense. The politician sees a golden chance to take his rival down. Out of options, Go decides to greenlight that so-called some cleanup project for real. Laughing like a creep, the politician agrees and orders them to push the original plans forward. Back in the snow, Nari plays around, while the MC and the bird sip some hot tea. With the magic locked in, the kid tells the hunter squad to bounce out of there ASAP, giving them a final warning to live right and never touch a single hair on a kid's head. Crafter is left speechless. Think this whole mana seal talk is completely impossible, and this is where it gets good. He remembers that bizarre incident from 50 years ago. In the records, a mad scientist confessed to some weird, forbidden tests with chimeras. The catch is the guy had a silent spell on him, locking away every detail about the place. Actually, tons of rank S hunters tried to break it and failed, turning into an endless mystery. Connecting the dots, he realizes the boss's technique is exactly like the one from that crazy day. Right then, the giant bird guy distractedly snags a cookie right off their table. Tia pops up, fuming with anger, demanding to know if the scrub really just stole her food. Sprinting away, the big guy screams for help while the crafter watches, thinking about the MC's childhood. Our boy has got to be some ancient, super sinister chimera hunter. Deep in thought, he can't even imagine the hell the guy went through to get this far. Crying real tears, he sought, pledges his loyalty, but the boss cuts him off, inviting him for a run. Hyped, the dude agrees instantly, but remembers those caves are heavy danger zones. Everyone explains the weather is wild, and they gotta rush to prep for the winter. Turns out the snow in the forest region is known as a silent invader. From the outside it looks normal, but it packs an acid that corrodes and melts regular plants. Because of that, everything melts in the cold and pops back up, soaring once spring hits. In a panic, the duo asks if their wooden house is gonna get wiped out in all this mess. Laughing at their faces, the boss promises the base is rock solid and nothing's falling down. Kim points out there's a mushroom in the cave that cancels the acid, and the MC agrees right away, freaking out over the idea of a neon greenhouse. The crafter's nose actually starts bleeding. Kid roasts his perfect timing, since he pulled the exact same embarrassing stunt at the coast. Whining, the cook yells that this is way too unfair to him. He shows to 6 sprouts in a bowl that aren't getting better as fast as they should. Analyzing the issue, Kim realizes they lack mana and decides to take them to the new lab. Right after the researcher mentions he saved a special little gift for the protagonist, he pulls out a jar of magic moisturizing cream that saves the alchemist's dry skin, since the ingredients are top tier, and works for the little girl and even the plants in the dry cave hiding in the fanny pack. Cute little plant hears about the cream and gets all riled up without delay. He calls the girl for the expedition and she gets hyped, ready to explore everything. Bizarre noise from a snowy bush nearby suddenly grabs their attention. Out of nowhere, Jay and the bird boss pop up, announcing they're taking off and surprising everyone. The big guy says he's gonna check on his own house before some scrub breaks in, then waves goodbye. Transforming into her giant bird form, Yu vanishes into the sky, flying fast with her brother. Catching a ride upon Gu, Mary asks about the map, and the kid says it's out east. The little girl finds it weird they call it a dry cave, but he swears it's no ordinary spot. Facing a massive stone canyon, the girl's jaw drops in pure awe. Blown away, she notices the peak looks like an endless stone desert, stretching across the horizon. With a smirk, the protagonist pulls the crew inside right away. Neri fears the danger of the drop, but he mentions the weak energy fools even rank B hunters. Honestly, that map is a bizarre maze that seriously messes with everyone's head. The girl quickly suggests flying through the open top, an idea he agrees would be great if it worked. Foolish, she doesn't get why they can't just fly. He points out the slippery pillars all over the place. On top of that, the cave blocks 90% of their powers, and gates just won't open. It's those exact traps that make this hole the spot where most folks end up gone for good. Hearing that, the girl freezes in terror, just imagining how dangerous this map really is. To fix it, she wants to start smashing everything, and the kid lets her test her luck. Locked in, the little girl throws a heavy punch at the dry rock with all her raw strength, but the wall doesn't even flinch from the hit, leaving her looking dumbfounded, trying to process it. Upset about being weak, she listens as he explains. The stone here absorbs shocks, just like a sponge crushes a normal rock. To prove the point, leaving the kid entirely shocked by the magic. Deep down, the boy admits he barely steps foot in there, and tries to remember if he ever explored the bottom. Curious, she asks about his last visit, which was back when he was still just a test subject. Flashing back, the test subject gets orders from a guy in a lab coat to hunt down a researcher. In the cave, the scientist brings up the boy's relationship with the target, while the MC just listens, cold as ice because of lies and weak data. The guy in the lab coat ordered the kid to wipe out all the tracks. Straight to the point, the scumbag asks if the kid understood the lethal order perfectly. With a takedown order set, the scene cuts back to the target on the cave floor, completely terrified, shocked on the ground. Kim stares at the little monster and calls him by his old no. 17. Realizing the lab betrayed him, the scientist hears the boy ask for his last words. Desperate, he explains he grabbed the last rare ingredient to cure his wife's sickness. Crying, he begs for mercy, but the young guy, shielded by the curse, only follows orders, and that's where it gets crazy. He throws it in his face that he knows about his ex-test subjects. Real immunity thrown in the dirt. The guy crawls around, begging the kid to lie and say he found nobody there. Swears up and down that the kid can take him out the second the medicine is ready. Watching that kind of humiliation just to save a wife, the MC finds the whole scene pretty bizarre and illogical inside his messed up mind. He remembers this exact trash eliminated 100 kids on the lab. Bed's cold as ever, he calls out the hypocrisy and paralyzes the scientist with the harsh, bloody truth. Panicking, the hypocrite screams at the top of his lungs. His wife is his true family. Silence takes over while the test subject's brain tries to process the word family. Right after the old man says he'd understand one day, an invisible force throws the guy backward. Behind the boy, a grotesque, creepy monster spawns from the shadows, leaving the target speechless. The giant freak charges at the MC, who doesn't even flinch, just staring down the fake evil doctor. Curious and slow, the kid turns his head and comes face to face with the massive size of that beast. Right then, a pure mana shield deflects the creature's swipe with brutal ease. Shaking non-stop on the dark ground, the guy cries out for help, like a massive coward with zero pity. Dowan ignores the scream and grabs that scum supply backpack. Focused on the mission, he digs through the item bag to see what surprises this layer is hiding inside. He finds a monster cub among the green mushrooms and asks about the medicine. Shaking his head, the scientist explains he just found the lost beast. With no mom around at the time, our boy quickly drops the creature on the ground. The guy just wanted to sell it on the black market. Terrified, the man freaks out seeing the giant beast, but the MC warns him she came to collect. Right then, the monster nudges the baby, and the young guy brings up that family talk, ticking off the researcher, questioning the difference between them. Dowan leaves the hypocrite completely stunned. To him, the beast is even better for saving its own blood, shutting the coward right up. He admits it's wild seeing someone risk it all, noting that even the weak survive. As promised, he drops the hit, only for the villain to beg to tag along with the MC. Losing his mind, the scientist screams in panic, terrified to face the monster alone. Soon he tries to give a master's order, but quickly changes his tune to some pathetic crying. That trash swears to do anything to live, making the kid stop right in his tracks. Back in the present, Nari thinks the guy kicked the bucket, but Dowan reveals he actually saved the dude. The plan was to force the man to confess his crimes to the law and seal his mouth for real. During the shock of the guy's family, he gets lost and fought, leaving the plant kind of sad. Our little girl notices the beast's look, and the MC is clueless until she mentions it's worrying. All because the kid's face got super dark while remembering that cruel man. Realizing even the plant tried to give him moral support, Gwen finds this duo pretty funny. With a smirk, he closes his eyes and admits he really digs this. Good feeling. Suddenly, the little girl spots a glow on the rock and screams that she found it. There are a bunch of flashy mushrooms on the wall, something that surprises the kid with how fast they popped up. Since the girl finds the fungus, they're weird. The MC explains the map's crazy secret. Turns out, instead of being naturally dry, that map sucks up moisture 2/7. Because of that, any tiny drop of water makes the sleeping crops sprout with full force, wasting no time. The kid suggests the crew start a massive harvest right on the wall to help. Nori steps up and says they can leave it all to her. In the blink of an eye, the duo manages to pack the whole bag, with the green fungi playing pretend as a mushroom millionaire. She announces their mission here is officially done. A weird noise comes from the plant on his shoulder, leaving the girl pretty confused on the spot. And that's where it gets crazy. The little beast wrinkled all up, because of the cave's super dry air. Quickly the kid digs to his memory for a way to save the dried up sprout. That moisturizing cream from Manager Kim is exactly the lifesaver they need. Sitting on a cold rock, he opens the magic jar and rubs the cream on the cute mascot. Magically the whittleweed inflates again, going back to normal with a super happy face. The girl celebrates the fast fix, noticing the little partner absolutely loved this VIP treatment for him. That's already great for a first try, but the sprout pulls a weird face. Leaping up boldly, Dodik demands way more cream, leaving the boss shocked at the audacity. He actually strikes a bodybuilder pose, flexing hard to score some more ointment, except gravity fails him, and he dives head first right into the jar of cream. The little guy sinks 100% into the white goop, in a completely comical way, popping back up with an angry face. He hears the girl tell him to watch the edge. Dwayne laughs his head off, catches onto the mascot's addiction, and decides to order more jars from Kim. Right after Nori straight up asks if the new plant got an official name at the base yet. Skipping the small talk, he suggests naming the little guy Dodik. To round out the squad, the kid repeats the cute word, and quickly approves the idea. Thinking it's awesome, a few minutes later, the boy puts Dodik to sleep, bummed out that the cream jar is empty. Calling her to leave, he hears Nori freak out, asking how they're supposed to exit that maze. To calm things down, Juan points out he left glowing moan trails all over the floor. His backup plan was climbing the walls, but luckily the marcher's still perfectly intact. Nori gets fascinated, watching those lights guide their way right through the dark, asking about the maps. Debuffed, the girl finds out he is running at 100%. Everything seems set up on purpose to scare off invaders, with crazy debuffs and wild paths, but the kid agrees with the theory and decides to come heavily armed for the next exploration. Far away from there, Cook Namjisuk is enjoying some peace, back at his own place meditating peacefully. The guy almost has a heart attack. Seeing the insane purification of his mana instantly, the crafter jumps for joy and starts packing his bags for a new idea. The rush hits hard since the team dad wants to make sure the squad is eating dinner right. Good thing the grocery run was already done, locking in the food and lights for the adventure. Since the boss's base is kind of creepy, he swears the cute decorations will brighten everything up. Squeezing the magic travel stone, the Coke gets ready to jump through space. The box is in hand. The plan is to stick sunflower decorations over all that slime. The porter spits him out inside, yelling with joy, only for the box to drop straight to the floor. Completely shocked, he freezes up, seeing the boss mess with the plants like it's nothing. Out of nowhere, Nari shows up in sunglasses, calling him to rush over and help with the work. Keep the house from nothing. The trick is to smash the fungus and plaster the walls for real. Right nearby, the bird siblings step on the plants with disgust, killing the dream of a pretty house. Crying inside, Jisoo begs for some effort, but the duo just ignores the poor guy. But our boy is smiling ear to ear, finding that green slime super fun. At that moment, Manager Kim bursts into the scene, yelling about a genius discovery. His jaw drops straight to the floor when he lays eyes on the walls, covered in fungus. Stunned, the researcher praises the group for finding the rare cave mushroom. Cutting to the chase, the kid asks about the update on that little metal plant. A super thin root dropped all by itself in the lab, without anyone even laying a finger on it. Through the tests, Kim saw the root turned into pure liquid metal, generated naturally. No one saw that coming. Kim drops that. He used the metal to lock the explosion spell, knowing that canceling it is tough. The formula actually pauses the deadly effect, shocking everyone without losing his cool. Do-One gets straight to it and asks for the exact delay time. Right away, Kim calculates an insane 72 hours of magic blocking per week. That gives them 3 full days of pure freedom in the human world with zero risk of a game over. Breaking down in tears, the big guy shakes, unable to believe they'll step foot in the city again. Even the little girl feels bad and asks if the masked auntie is also dropping ninja sweat. The big guy quickly lets them know these tears are from pure joy and heavy emotion. Wanting to celebrate, the kid invites everyone for a trip outside, but the duo hesitates hard. Our little girl is already jumping for joy, just thinking about this massive family outing. Focused on the science, Kim prefers staying in the trenches, working hard at the lab, so the MC tells them to hunt down Bongzu's address. Since Nari doesn't have her tracker, feeling embarrassed, she fears walking around naked out there, and her brother tells her to take that bone off her face. He warns her that without the mask, nobody will stare, and the kid is already planning to buy normal clothes. Arriving at the slum alley, Do-Woon calls the newbie over, wanting to check up on his health. Super happy, the rookie keeps it real, saying he's 1,000 times better after that help. Then he lays eyes on the bird siblings and realizes they weren't just super strong, rocking casual clothes. The duo reveals some insane magazine model beauty. His ox struts around in a bandana, and the young guy recognizes the kid and the squad's doting dad. For Bonsu, that neighborhood stroll vibe honestly gave off real family energy. Curious, the kid asks what it feels like to step on asphalt after being gone for so long. Ja finds it all worn like home, while the big guy complains. The dirt there just multiplied. The whole squad stares at the mountains of trash and agrees the slums got way worse. To explain the mess, the young guy points out that the suits pulled all the cleaning crews from the area. Looking completely defeated, he confesses the slum was just left there to rot. But just like that, everything changed. The shock hits heavy when he sees Mrs. Park tossed on the ground surrounded by thugs. Seeing the scene, Bonsu rushes to help, but the owner screams for him to run away. Right then the tattooed, bald guy warns he's only leaving after grabbing their protection money. Stepping up, the kid glares at the brute, demanding answers, and the villain just laughs in his face. Ansu claims the space gang doesn't run things here, but the dude says the rules have changed. Cracking his knuckles, the thug mocks the rookie's guts for trying to step up to the crew quickly. The guy lunges to strike, but a mysterious hand grips his wrist super tight. Getting mad, he yells to let go. Except the grip doesn't budge and a creepy aura pops up, and the power explodes out of nowhere, making the big guy howl in pain. Right in the middle of the street, on the cold ground, the henchman squirms, while the MC glares down at the trash. His promise is crystal clear: next time, that bold arm is turning into a twig. The whole gang flips out seeing their boss, this big dude guy, getting clowned like that, pulling out some iron pipes. The punks charge full speed at our boy, and just like that, everything changed. The weapons turn to dust when the big bird guy blocks the hit, laughing at the shards in his hand. The ally notes that the slums are still the same. Old chaos long su. And the owner drop their jaws at the cracked level of these new saviors. But one of the thugs runs off to warn the boss, and the kid tells them not to chase him yet. Down on the floor, the bald dude swears revenge and promises a war against this mystery crew. A tiny voice grabs their attention and Nari pops up, claiming they are the Coconut family. He says he's gonna get a lesson, leaving the brute completely and utterly glitched out. Calming down, everyone steps into the shop. That just got a massive makeover and looks gorgeous. Madam Park confesses that just selling clothes wasn't paying the bills in the slums. Because of that, she flipped the store and started selling basic hunter gear too. Checking out the new pants, Jisok even thinks about taking some basic cooking classes. The owner quickly scolds the rookie for vanishing for days, and he awkwardly apologizes with a serious tone. She asks if he had an awakening, leaving the boy a bit frozen on the spot. He then shows off his powers and happily confirms he's a super rare teleportation hunter. Overjoyed, she messes up his hair, and the crafter finds that scene super cute to watch. However, the cook suddenly freezes up with a look of pure shock on his face. Ya steps out of the fitting room in a stunning dress, and the little girl rushes over to hype up the outfit, turning red as a tomato. The guy stammers, saying she looks beautiful like that. The vibe is great, and the shop owner catches the heavy crush in the air, right away winking at the guy. She roots for the couple, knowing those to make a really great match. For his first time in casual wear, the goofball tries to figure out if he looks stylish enough to impress. Right after, the big guy shows up in a suit and tie, flexing a ton of style for the squad. Madam Park almost falls over, thinking the man turned into a famous movie star. He even finds it weird that such a handsome dude lives hidden behind a bizarre bone mask. Teasing his sister about a picnic, she immediately threatens to wipe the floor with him. Stuck in a floral shirt, the kid complains nonstop about how uncomfortable fashion is. Gail agrees 100% and promises to rip off that party dress the second she steps home, pulling out his wallet to pay. The boy hears that all of this is a huge gift from her. The blonde swears it's payback for helping earlier and for saving poor Bong-suk, but since she insists so much, the MC ends up happily accepting the cool freebies. Getting serious, he focuses on the henchman tossed on the floor and warns it's heavy cleanup time. He asks what kind of lame excuse these scumbags use to squeeze money out of the slums. Park drops the rumors about the Gold City project, planning to demolish the place without mercy. Making things worse, the gang pretends to collect defense funds just to rob their own suffering people. The shop hasn't been making much lately, so paying off those clowns was impossible. Catching on to the drama, the young guy note that trash always attracts some really dangerous flies. Then he steps up to the crushed brute and demands to know where the coward came from. That henchman stutters in pure panic, asking why he needs the boss's address. Looking dead serious, the kid warns he's about to do a deep clean on the neighborhood trash. Lee Du-chil loses his mind in his own office after hearing his right-hand man got bodied out there. Thug shake in fear, reporting that it was some completely unknown people in the area, gritting his teeth. The big boss won't accept anyone messing with the space gang. On his turf, he swears heavy retaliation and orders the squad to arm themselves to the teeth for a direct clash, and that's where it gets crazy. The door goes flying, and a goon yells that the base is under attack. The trail of destruction is wild, with dozens of thugs already wiped out. In the hallway, confidently, Jisung steps on the punks while announcing the Coconut family name to their villain leader, but the bad guy doesn't even care about that bizarre name and charges in, wanting to crush everyone with his fists. Arriving at the main hall, he goes into pure shock, seeing his whole army on the floor. Filled with rage, the boss steps to Jisuk, demanding if he's the one who caused this massive mess. Calmly, the crafter flashes a mocking smirk at the sheer number of punks in that place. Our MC tells his partner to handle it all solo, as long as he doesn't set the base on fire. The mission spooks the cook, since the whole rival group looks like strong, awakened fighters. Dwayne keeps it real. To be a truer rank, the guy has to completely body these worms. Fueled by that heavy motivation, the cook screams he's gonna get the job done, and rank up. Watching from the corner, the rest of the squad eats popcorn, while Nari cheers him on, suggest a tactical retreat. Except the overly proud leader decides to clash head-on. The villain analyzes Gisuka's brutal strength, guessing he's a focused B-rank tank. In his mind, that bizarre crew could only be the league president's hired goons. Jisuk mocks the thug for talking too much, and calls for a one-on-one, with zero patience left, completely blinded by hate. The leader attacks, throwing ultra-fast punches his way, but the cook playfully dodges every punch, showing he's already on a whole other combat level. You can see every single movement. Finding the guy strikes ridiculously slow. Keeping full focus, the partner even has to hold back, so he doesn't obliterate the poor rival. The smash on the ground spreads a massive crater, throwing all the extras far away instantly. He so loses his mind over his own cracked power, noticing how much he leveled up beside this new family. With an unexpected compliment from his crush behind him, the goofball melts with happiness right there. Quickly, the MC warns that the beef isn't over yet, demanding total focus on the fight. A killer instinct warns the crafter of the imminent danger, popping up behind his back. That beast gets up, huffing with lethal claws on his hands, promising to shred the rookie to pieces. Spinning his claws like a crazy chainsaw, he charges forward, wanting to destroy everyone in the room. The clash is brutal, but Aralai takes the hit, holding off that nasty magic combo. Jisuk finds it curious that the guy mixes wind magic with the raw power of an enhancement. He swallows the villain in a super savage tornado, leaving Ja kinda tense with that scene. Without breaking a sweat, the big ally guarantees the cook already has this fight 100% won. Actually, he handed him some really valuable close combat tips just moments before. He stays calmly focused in the middle of the hurricane, coating his own punch with pure massive energy boom. No one saw that coming. He drops from above, smashing the villain's face with everything. In a single strike, defeated and spitting out teeth, the gang boss kisses the mat, completely and brutally destroyed. The big guy praises the ninja technique of using the magic defense shield to attack without holding back. Oan digs the crazy fusion of magics used, giving huge props for the level up, and his crush agrees, dismantling a trashy weapon without a single ounce of physical effort. Out on the street, the hideout's old tin sign still carries the space name of the old gang. She rips the sign off by force, and the MC confirms the territory is now officially theirs. Using pure cute magic, the little girl fires off pure energy and burns a beautiful drawing right on the spot. The final art leaves the word coconut, all colorful and alive, which the boy finds pretty awesome. Chai loses it, realizing the brat has crazy powers, and that maybe the guy before was the weak one. Pressuring the fully surrendered Doug, Jisuk turns up the heat for him to unlock the base's secret safe, but the clown is stubborn, preferring a slow takedown over handing over the password to his highly valuable treasure. But our boys voice them. There's a much faster way to fix this. With a single punch, he smashes the magic door and reveals a mountain of cash. Curious, the ally wants to know what to do with this gang if they go free right then. The kid asks what exactly. These thugs are protecting the slums from, explains. They beat up anyone committing crimes to keep the streets safe. Glaring at the boss, Gwen brings up the Gold City project to demolish everything, so he wants to know how the crew plans to stop this massive disaster. Dylan throws the question right back, saying the only way out is getting stronger. He shares that the Hunter Lee president made a pretty dirty offer to speed up the slum's destruction. The plan was for the gang to cause chaos there. However, the boss refused and put his men to patrol and protect the neighborhood. Kneeling down, he swears the gang loves that place, even if some mess up. The bird guy thinks that's garbage, since extorting money is scumbag behavior to him. There's no such thing as a good thug. Shutting the big bad guy right up. Skipping the nonsense, the boy slams the table and decides to give the rogue a real chance. With a smirk, he offers a deal, since the crew claims to love the neighborhood so much. Therefore, using that cash from the safe for the people's sake won't be an issue at all. And just like that, everything changed. The main street is now getting swept by workers. One henchman asked for magic help to sweep, but catches an earful from the annoyed boss quickly. He notices the work flows way faster when they do it together. Around the corner, a bunch of buckets with mops and brooms are ready for the daily grind. Our MC names the group the Space Family and puts the guys to work cleaning the whole slum. Threatening to beat the leader of the street gets dirty. The brutes accept their duty, crying while painting the walls. Some even doubt if they became real janitors. Around here another guy just accepts life, knowing that clashing with the rich folks would be a waste of time deep down. They feel they can trust the kid and celebrate the squeaky clean street. From a distance Jusuk admires the super clean new look of that forgotten place. He spots a fanny pack on the kid's belt, a gift from Madam Park. That accessory became the perfect little house for Dodik, who jumps out of it super happy. Out in the woods the little girl steps out of a portal and greets her plant partners. Welcomed with hugs the mascot hears complaints from the squad about the massive delay. Confused, Dewan looks around for manager Kim, who suddenly vanished from that area. Yal points out that the guy must have flown off to the frozen mountain lab. Acting all cute he soaks, strikes up a chat with Ja, and asks if the crew is hungry. Hyped up the bird suggests a simple dish of rice with egg and soy sauce. The duo repeats the ingredients, finding it weird without putting much faith in it. He swears it's delicious cooking, while the MC calls the little girl to hunt for sweet, asking about fruits. She says some red grapes should be right on point. Over there the little fruits are built different, and the boy even catches a sweet scent in the air. Pointing ahead the girl freaks out, seeing the legendary vine of that world. The sheer size of that tree is so wild, it drops her jaw on the spot. Down below some wolves roam the area, looking starving for some grapes too. She points up out of nowhere, seeing a beat-up redhead falling from the sky. Clinging to the wood the poor guy regrets being so far from the top of that massive plant. His body gets weaker by the second, suffering hallucinations from those dangerous grapes. Slipping down, he cries over losing his escape stone, and tearfully apologizes to his grandpa up there. Chilling Duwan wants the grapes, but the girl tells him to focus on the purple ones. Shocked the hanging dude thinks he's seeing a mirage, because the scene is so bizarre. Feeling bad the shorty even asks if they can't lend a hand to the almost dead guy. The kid claims he can hold on a bit longer, while focusing on harvesting dessert. Impressed she praises the plant, which she guesses has over 60 years of life. When asked about the trunk's rings, the boy brushes it off with a super lost and distant look. He reveals he planted something just like it, pulling up a creepy flashback of the old tests. Back in the day, some scientists let the little test subject return to his cell early. Hopping off the stretcher and thinking about the pain, the little boy spots something flashy in the trash. Between the dirty bags, a mystery seed gives off a super faint light. Very slowly a stubborn green sprout tries to grow right out of that filth. Grabbing the thing, the boy asks if they were going to throw the rare demonic seed away. The guy in the lab coat says it's useless trash, and the little kid asks to keep it. Agreeing, the scientist remembers the brat already stabbed the boss over a simple no. Today the MC touches the giant, glowing golden bark, and recognizes his very own masterpiece. Laughing for no reason, he finds it surreal that the weak sprout turned into a living tree monster right in his face. A juicy bunch is fully ready to become the greatest dessert. The plant itself lowers its branches for the girl, shocking the rookie who's still falling. With zero strength left, the redhead's hand slips off the wetwood, and he loses his grip, panicking. His fingers let go completely, and the crazy guy goes dropping down hard. He screams in terror, rolling down the thick bark in a complete free fall. But before becoming engulfed in her, a golden magic paralyzes the guy right in midair. Holding the rescued dude, Dawoon asks straight up if he's Lee's grandson. Completely lost, the rookie hears he needs to deliver an urgent message to his grandpa. Smiling, the kid points out the old man now owes him his life. For the second time at that moment, a cute yellow snake pops into his lap, beeping super happily, dizzy at a dining table. The redhead has no clue about those beasts in his lap. From a distance the MC admires the plants, playing chill in his private garden. The poor guy gooches out seeing the beasts sliding down a parrot slide in the woods. Even worse is the masked squad staring into his soul, wanting to test out the newbie. To top off the madness, a crazy smell of sesame oil takes over the area's air. Believing it's great madness, he even doubts his eyes, seeing the bird guy with the plate. Our life flexes his master chef skills, describing the scrambled eggs on shiny rice. Turning on the charm, he details the magic soy sauce seasoning, and that mouth-watering aroma. The masterpiece gets cheese on top, plus soybean paste soup and a ton of kimchi. Sitting in a circle the crew drools, while the MC praises the gift for the feast. Politely the bird chef tells the guest to eat, leaving him even more terrified. Scared to death the redhead kid gulps, and decides to finally try the exotic menu quickly. He shoves a generous spoonful of that dish right into his mouth. In theory, the food's basic seasoning serves to bring that flavor to life, and this is where it gets good. The bite hits way too hard, and he explodes in awe at that divine taste. Devouring everything, the girl praises how every grain of rice absorbed the perfect flavor. Super confident in his cooking power, the chef flashes a satisfied smile. It proves that those little vials used in the recipe were essential for the magic to happen. The full belly goo questions if the crazy dude really is the grandson of the hunter. Big Shot, one of the partners, also wants to know the reason for his embarrassing hang-up on that dangerous branch. Thinking about the top of the tree, Yu-Won tries to understand this poor guy's suicide mission, and no one saw that coming. The MC figures it all out and drops the truth about grabbing the seed. In the past, the young guy argues hard with his grandpa inside their famous official association. Sick of the pressure, he says he just wants freedom and doesn't want to become a hunter. Replying to that, the old man questions his feelings and brings up that super rare seed. The deal was to fetch the hellish plant in exchange for never being forced to fight again today. He vents that he tried to please the old geezer his whole life since he raised him, but the boy hates fighting and has zero clue why his grandpa would ask for such a deadly task. Right then, the kid looks at him and confesses he doesn't know much about family. Turning to the guy, he says he finally gets why the grandpa sent him out here. It turns out the mystic vine only drops a fruit once every few decades, and until the seed is ready, the tree hides it way up at the top, growing almost to the sky, just to dodge those ground beasts. For the flying monsters, it releases this weird gas from the fruits, meaning the plant lives to protect that seed, just like a father and son. Gwen then tells him to forget the guild and focus on his grandpa's feelings. Several family photos show up on a piece of furniture nearby, far away from there. Lee Yun-soo himself stares out the window, deep in thought, wondering if he went too hard on the scolding. His phone rings with his grandson's name. The old man even thinks about inviting the kid to dinner. After all this time on the line, the redhead just cries, finally getting his grandpa's love. But the geezer thinks the phone is muted and that the boy went out to party. With a sigh, he reflects that times are getting way too dangerous. He even remembers the rank squad that lost their levels over at the snowy mountain, hiding in a dark corner. A goon reports they covered up the case for good. The president tries to find some logic in it, thinking about a gate error. However, he quickly drops that idea, since he watched the whole thing happen. Front row, that guy will never forget the snake creature on the parrot, down in the slums unexpectedly. The memory of that kid from the past comes rushing back, and that's where it gets crazy. The door bursts open with the henchman screaming. Hearing that, Biko vanish in the shadow realm hits the old man hard. Back at the camp, two little creatures pass out near the fire. Our boy finds it funny, claiming the good food made everyone sleepy. A tiny owl misses the redhead, but the crafter put him on dish duty. At that moment, Gisachak returns, and the MC quickly asks if he knows the old man. Smirking, he mentions that this story goes back decades. In the middle of the flashback, the crafter is flying around a completely wrecked scenario. His plan was to hit the monster realm, but the gate dumped him in the wrong spot. Staring at the shards on the ground, he notices the jump got messed up. To make matters worse, the backup stone fails, and the time limit is just ticking away. And no one saw that coming. Two creepy dragon heads pop right out of the shadows. A few quick attacks almost catch the guy off guard. Without breaking a sweat, he flashes that confident smile and sets up his defense. One single wind punch easily handles the beef against the little beasts. Honestly, they were just too many dragons, now crying trapped inside a magic bubble. Feeling super proud, he runs with the orb, thinking it's the perfect idea to stop thugs, until he hears a weak voice calling for help. In the middle of the rubble, spotting the trapped dude, he quickly offers some water to save the poor guy, stuck there for 3 days. The man says thanks, and Jisuk just wants to know his name. Yunsu introduces himself, super humble, handing over a card for a new guild. Even with zero powers, the old guy says he just wanted to support the hunters. That friend they invite immediately triggers a red flag in our hero's paranoid mind. Cutting the chatter, he asks about the escape stone, and the old man denies having one. Of course he didn't, hence the geezer's panic. Being terrified of the beasts, relax. Kisik warns him, promising he'll escort him right to the area's exit. Almost crying from relief, the guy can barely believe he knows the map by heart. Acting cool, he pulls out a mashed potato and offers it to his mystery savior. That was his very last piece of food, proving some wild optimism during a crisis. During the walk, the old-timer yaps non-stop, totally exhausting the young guy's mind. Back in the present, the little owl finds out that was their actual goodbye. Yep, the big shot never figured out he got saved by a chimera. Poking the embers, Gisa pulls a nice warm potato out of the fire. Its skin peels off easily, showing that classic steam of some really good food. Without thinking twice, he swallows the whole meal right down. Man, the nostalgic taste makes the duo agree. It came out perfect. Thinking about the cold rolling in, the MC quickly suggests digging out a shelter. The sprout leader loves the idea and agrees to gather firewood real quick. Catching that, Duwon sees the beast shaking and guesses he wants more cream. Unfortunately, the stash hits zero, leaving the poorest little guy bummed out instantly. Moments later, a giant blue gate rips through the air out of nowhere, and wouldn't you know it, Manager Kim pops out of there, throwing a huge party. Curious, the alchemist immediately hunts for his bald buddy, with his eyes knowing the other guy is washing dishes. Our boy tells him to keep the secret. With his fancy briefcase open, he shows off the perfect cure for the sprouts. The only problem is, the dose has to go straight into the vein, via injection. Thing is, the little beasts are terrified of needles, and completely freeze up seeing them curled up. Goo even asks for another option, but the liquid needs to go in slow. Then the kid connects the dots, and asks if the chemist has any leftover moisturizer. Holding the lotion, he gives that root a deep massage to relax it. Shocked, the scientist goes crazy over this unusual contact tactic. One smiles proudly, flexing how well behaved his mascots are. Nid scratches the little beast, passes out asleep, to the owl's sheer shock. Even the manager is blown away by the flawless instant sleep technique, taking no chances. The MC pulls out the syringe in one swift move. He then pokes the knocked out root, like a true master of precision, leaving poor Kim completely paralyzed from so much amazement. Soon, the other sprout passes out too, scoring major points for the brilliant tactic. Acting fast, Dwayne tells them to hook up the medicine tube. Before they wake up minutes later, the 4-bag was already dripping into the little plant's vein. The exact same magic happens to the next patient, right under the silver moonlight. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief, celebrating that the worst phase of the treatment is over. On his knees, the chemist says thanks, while the MC would rather be punching monsters. A bit later, Kim remembers to ask about Jisoo, so he can drop that big news. Speak of the devil, a loud crash in the woods brings the bald guy running back. Screaming his lungs out, he announces the baldness cure, but trips hard over the pan. Silence takes over the circle, with everyone judging the disaster spilled on the dirt. Almost in tears, the manager cries, asking if he heard that right, about his hair, and if you want part 2.